Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
But tell me, Eddie, is that a rabbit in your pocket or are you just happy to see me?
Lana. 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 Lana!
What? Danger zone.
I feel the need for speed. Ow! So, hello everybody. Yes, I know that's from the first movie. I didn't have time to pull any clip or so from the Top Gun Maverick, but it works. It works because pretty much you do feel the need for speed, even though it moves from F-14 Tomcats to F-18 Hornets for this film, which is understandable given the evolution of aircraft both in the Air Force and in the Navy. And even though I'm Air Force, not Navy, I figure it is appropriate to have the aviators on for this stream, talking about the sequel to Top Gun. I guess that I was saying to Orange Hat before going live that that no one asked for, yet didn't realize that we pretty much needed and wanted. It's like, this is how you do a sequel. This is how you come out of nowhere with a sequel 30 plus years later with OMG diversity in the cast amongst the pilots, and like, shocker, no one gave a shit because it's about the characters. Like, there's a female pilot amongst the crew, and we'll get into their call signs and the characters themselves once we get further into the discussion. Like, there's a female pilot, like, but it's not all about the fact that she's a female.
Yeah.
She even messes up occasionally. She's a very good pilot, but she's going against Maverick during training, so it's like it doesn't make it all the power of the uterus, pretty much, with this character. She is just a good character who happens to be a female. There's Fanboy is Latino. All right, he's Latino. We have two black pilots in
Payback and Coyote.
Yeah. And again, shocker, no one cares.
Yep.
No one cares because it's all about, like I said, and this is, and like there are other pilots amongst the crew, but those are the primary ones. And like we didn't talk about Hangman. I know, like, Bob is kind of like the comedic relief in a sense with his name because he doesn't really have a call sign. His call sign is technically his Bob.
Yeah,
pretty much. So
I've been here the whole time. Man,
Yeah.
just a pilot.
with no sense of humor.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So it's like, he has a little bit of levity with this character, but at the same time, he's not the butt of the jokes, essentially. Like, adds just enough that, like, there is, like, a little bit of, I'm probably misusing this, but like, a little bit of humanity. It's not all about, basically, like hoorah, things like that. And, just kind of tone it down. And if you look at amongst the other pilots too, like in Asian, I think his call sign is Yale or something like that. One is named Halo.
Yeah.
Halo. Again, you would think, like, these people who accuse us of being racist because we have a problem with basically disrespecting lore and race swapping, that we would have been all over like the diversity in the cast, and you would be hard pressed to find anyone that complained about the cast in that regard. Pretty much, there might be some complaints about the characters themselves in their portrayals, but nothing about either the race or the sex that I recall seeing.
I'm just want to go on record because, I said it on my stream, but I am going to go on record and say it is absolutely criminal that the Oscars only gave this movie Best Sound when the digital effects for this film, folks, were so good they rivaled that of freaking Shin Godzilla. And that movie, it wasn't a guy in a suit. It was literally digital effects, and it looked that real. Where the F-18s, the fifth gens, the Su-57s, they are all digital for the most part. With some, or they also do have actual F-18s, but
because it says they're like, part of the trivia, because I had the trivia up, that at the insistence of Tom Cruise, minimal green screen and CGI aerial shots exist in the film, and even the close-up cockpit shots were taken during real in-flight sequences.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, the actors themselves had to go through extensive G-force training.
They had to go through G-force. They had to go do underwater training. They
Yeah.
had to do also. They had to put their bodies through hell for this movie, folks.
Yeah. So
No joke.
pretty much basically hats off to the cast in this film. Basically the ones who played the pilots, what they had to go through.
Oh yeah.
To basically make it believable that they were F-18 pilots.
Yep.
And I think according to also Miles Teller, who I would say is incredibly believable as an offspring of Anthony Edwards' character Goose.
Yeah.
The first movie, almost a fucking spitting image of a young Anthony Edwards in this movie, completely believable in looks, and does a very good job conveying because he we'll be getting into this the characters after I say I officially ask Orange Hat to introduce himself pretty much and say hello to the chats, but he's also going through the movie with a chip on his shoulder. Mm-hmm. But you find out that they could have gone the cliched route where he blames Maverick for his father's death, pretty much, kind of like that trope, but they don't. And it's an incredibly believable reason why for him to have not only a chip on his shoulder, but why Maverick doesn't. And we'll get into it, why he doesn't at all defend himself. Because the chip is against Maverick. It's pretty much he has this kind of this tension, this sort of animosity almost towards Maverick. And like I said, the trope could have been that he blamed Maverick for his father's death. I think we've seen it time and time again in Hollywood. It's basically a cliched story point. But nope, there's another reason, and it makes sense, and it also makes sense why Maverick doesn't defend himself, because Maverick is not necessarily in the wrong when it so. But before I say hello to the chat, Orange Chat, let everybody know where they can find you and all that fun stuff.
Well, you can find me here on Twitter, on YouTube. Well, we're on YouTube right now. You can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Rumble, Facebook even. You can find me all over the place, Instagram and Discord. I do movie reviews, entertainment reviews. Yesterday I did Memorial Day mystery review, which discussed this very movie. Cosmic coincidence there. Mm-hmm. And June mystery reviews, the theme is in the thumbnail. Just go to the mystery review playlist. You'll see swords. So every movie that I have or that I'm doing in the month of June will have swords in them. I also do Infinity Saga Sundays, where me and the Hat Crew discuss the Infinity Saga, which is phases 1 through 3. We're going to be discussing Thor: The Dark World come this Sunday night at 8 o'clock. And other than that, I also cover the odd story here and there in entertainment.
Okay. Yep. So, and obviously you can find me here because you are on watching this literally on my main channel. I also have a live channel, which I normally do solo streams Friday afternoons, but I'm anticipating not being able to stream at all, at least Friday afternoon, because I kind of have to be on deck, so to speak. My parents are doing just about complete renovation of their kitchen, so it's it's basically had to be available to help because they're getting new appliances, new flooring, new cabinets, new countertops, and all that fun stuff. Yeah, so pretty much just about pretty much a gut. It's about pretty much a gut. So, but I see from the top, I see Trey. It's ready for a lit discussion. Thank you so much. Yeah, we'll be getting into it. We're not going to exactly cover the entire movie because we'll be here for a long time if we go too far into the weeds. But there are we're going to talk about the characters, the overall plot, and so forth. Sorry. It's Gravy D. What up, beautiful Mara, Orange Chat, and Chat? Time to fly the unfriendly skies. Yeah. So Corey, hello, and this is another good line because I have it's not the plane, it's the pilot on the thumbnail, but this is another one. Don't think, just do, because basically that was pretty much Maverick's philosophy in the first movie. Don't think, just do. He relied on his gut for every time he was up in the plane, to the chagrin of his superiors. And his wingman at times, but that was his pretty much philosophy. So, and again, it makes sense that he still feels that way. But at the same time, this is a mature Maverick. And I like the fact that it's it's obviously been 30 years, so they're going to show that it's like 30 years in the character that he has essentially grown. Maybe not completely matured because he's only a captain in this movie, so he really has not progressed in rank. But at the same time, it's like they don't go the default route and have him act the same way in this movie as he did in the first film. Like, he's still Maverick, but there has been at least some growth with this character. So I do appreciate that. Gaming or what? Hello, good to see you. Yes, I'm 4 away on Kick. I'm trying to reach 150, so thank you so much. Abomination, what's up? Yeah, I got the aviators on, pretty much. And Hush, Megatron. So, but good to see you.
You almost could pass for her.
I just had to dye my hair blonde.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I
you
feel
could
like
you could pass for Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Okay, I'll buy that. Yeah. Female pilot, gasp. Yeah, I know, shocker. Oh my god,
there was two.
Pilot. Yeah, and female pilot, and no one complained.
Nope.
Nope, no one complained. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find anyone who complained about, at least in terms of race and sex for the characters, pretty much. Yeah. Keely, what's up? And yes, Warlock, like a black admiral.
Yeah.
His Maverick Superior and Shocker, played by Chris Parnell. No one cared because he did a phenomenal job. It wasn't all about the fact that he was a black leader. He was an admiral who happened to be black, happened to be Maverick Superior, because he's basically I'm not sure how the Navy works, but he's kind of in a co-superior role to John Hamm's Cyclone, because John Hamm's character Cyclone is pretty much the one calling the shots.
He's the air boss.
Yeah, so he's the one who's the final say. Like, at one point he's reaming Maverick, like, because of a stunt that was pulled during one of the training exercises, and so he's like, it's like, from now on, like, blah 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 will go through me, like, in writing.
Yep. He just fucking hands him a folder.
in writing, I'm like, okay, here it is. Like,
permission to drop a little thing about timing, Maverick.
Yeah, permission to drop the hard deck, pretty much. So it's funny. Yeah, and then I got the aviators on. Yeah, and yeah, Maverick carried Hollywood last year, and Oscars typically tries to prop up the more artsy, typically less popular films. Not that I have any issues with, like, more independent artsy type films, but for the most part, it's like, just because they're independent does not mean they're necessarily good. Just because, it's so fashionably late. Hey, Vanya, good to see you. Yeah, this is Orange Hat's Twitter. This is his YouTube. This is my live channel. I will be on Twitch tomorrow. So either playing some more Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man Remastered, or trying my hand at Starship Troopers Extermination, since I got to work on Steam.
Nice.
Yes. Sevakana. Yes. Yeah, wait, they let a female fly a plane? Yes. Bitches can barely parallel park. Yes. And John Hamm is great, yes. And $2 super chat from Winky. Hello, take a ride in danger. Thank you, Winky. X also got robbed last year. Yes, that horror film got robbed, pretty much.
Joystick of brass right there, man.
Yeah, but anyway, all right. Okay, so
a fun fact about this film: John Krasinski got 30 minutes with Tom Cruise when he was doing his latest Mission Impossible film, and he made his pitch. And after he made his pitch, Tom Cruise just picked up the phone and dialed Paramount, and they're like, "We're doing Top Gun 2." That's all he had to say to get them on board, folks.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Cruise, say what you will about him, like, he's kind of a Scientologist nutcase.
Yeah.
But he does have pull in Hollywood. He does still have pull in Hollywood. So, if he makes the call and says, we're doing this, yeah.
And he also cares about entertaining the fans. He doesn't care about pushing agendas.
Yes, and again, we'll be going into, like, I'm going to bring up, because I don't have it through Amazon, I have it through my Sail to High Seas. I'm gonna like share the screen. Oh no, I'm already sharing it. So let me just.
Would you also agree that this movie is extremely rewatchable?
Oh yeah, like it's like I said last week, and I'll kind of reiterate it and add to it that like these ones and twos, there's a bit of a pattern where it's like if you look at the ones and twos, not for every movie, but for the most part, the second movie is totally different from the first movie, pretty much. Like let's say, for example, Alien and Aliens. It really all depends, like per like your subjective preference for which one would you rather watch, essentially, like for whatever reason. Like Alien is more of a psychological horror film. Aliens is more sci-fi action. In this case, both are rewatchable, but I will argue that the pacing for the story in this one is better than the first one.
Definitely.
It's better than the first one. It takes its time. So it's not exactly like hit in the first one. Not that I have anything wrong with that. That's because I do like Top Gun, but I'd say this one, like you said, is actually more rewatchable. So like definitely story wise better in my opinion.
The reason why I asked that, folks, is because, to be completely honest, and I'm going to fanboy here a little bit, pun intended. When I got this movie on digital, I also have the physical media, but when I got it on digital, I watched it for a week every night. Yeah, I was watching this movie every night for a week. It's that rewatchable for me because I enjoyed it that much in theaters. And now that she's taken off, I'll keep you guys entertained, and gals, if there's any gals in the chat. So, yeah. How many of you all find it rewatchable in the chat? Let us know.
Yeah, because I think Traces is, I see Soul Assassin. Yeah, I got the need for speed. Yes, the need for speed.
And yes, Penny is definitely a better love interest. Jennifer Connelly.
At least story-wise, like definitely better. Yeah.
Yeah. Jennifer Connelly is even fucking now, she still maintains her beauty.
Yeah.
But she also does let her age show through a little bit, which is nice.
Oh my God, hold on, I gotta take this call.
All right. And one of the things is, folks, 86 was when Top Gun came out. And if I remember correctly, Jennifer Connelly.
Whew, okay. Thank you for the $2 super chat. Again, I'm not going to read that, Winky, but thank you so much. Jacob Watts says, I may not agree with Tom Cruise in Scientology, but at least he wants to deliver the best movie he can for the audience. Yes.
Jennifer, so here's a fun movie trivia, folks. Jennifer Connelly plays Penny Benjamin.
Yeah.
And in 1986 was Top Gun.
Mm-hmm.
He took an admiral's daughter up into an F-14 at that time. He also took her back up with an F-18, as she mentions in this movie. However, in 1985, when he was taking her up in the F-8 or in the F-14, Jennifer Connelly was only 15. So they had to age up Jennifer a little bit, or at least her character in this film. Because, that would have been such a felony.
Yeah. A little bit.
Because she was born in 1970, in December of 1970.
Yeah.
So she was 15 during the making of Top Gun. 14, 15 years old, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, when did Labyrinth come out? That was...
Labyrinth was, I believe, 88. All right, let me look it up.
It was the late 80s, I remember that.
86. Labyrinth was also 86.
So she would have been 16 when she... 16 when she made Labyrinth. So
yeah, she was 15.
So the first movie I actually had seen Jennifer Connelly in was actually The Rocketeer.
That was also the first movie. No, my first was actually Labyrinth because I saw her when I was 3 years old. Or it was 1988 when I saw Labyrinth the first time. Poggle.
I think Maverick is supposed to be in his 24, like early to mid 20s. So he wasn't like that. He wasn't like exactly old, but he would have been an adult, and she would have been a minor, technically. So
Age.
I think he was supposed to be
20. He was born in 62. He's 8 years older than Jennifer Connelly.
So he would have been like basically his age, like his own age in the movie. So he's like would have been early to mid 20s.
Yep, he would have been 23, 24. And when he did Legend, Mia Sara was also 15, 16. So the 80s folks had
Different
very
time,
controversial,
yeah.
Different time, very nowadays controversial acting method, shall we say. Because a 22-year-old, 23-year-old making out with a 15, 16-year-old nowadays would be pretty bad. Let's just say.
Yeah. Yeah, so let me just come on. So hold on. So they essentially have the same thing, and they corrected it to ensure.
Yep.
So it's the same, it's essentially text, but they corrected their mistake from the first movie, because in the first movie it's misspelled. It's spelled as inshore, as if they are insuring their pilots, but they were ensuring that a handful of men and women who graduated were the best fighter pilots in the world.
And that's another change they made.
Yeah.
The men and women.
Yes. So let me see if I can. Yeah. So Top Gun, and then Maverick, pretty much. And I remember reading an article around the time this movie came out, or maybe a bit after that. Apparently, they had toyed with the idea of having Kenny Loggins record a new version of Danger Zone. But they ultimately opted with the original track. They ultimately opted with the original, and I'm glad they did.
Yeah, because how old is Kenny Loggins now?
Even with his age, I think he still could have done it, but it would not have felt the same. I don't think so. I'm glad they kept the original.
Keeping to the original formula was the better move here. Also, fun fact: it's not just F-18s in the beginning montage. There's 2 F-35s.
Mm-hmm. And they have Top Gun anthem as well, pretty much.
Yeah.
So they exist.
They actually updated the Top Gun anthem for this, and I gotta say, folks, I'm digging the updated version a little bit more than the original.
A little bit. I mean,
a little bit when they put orchestra in it.
I don't want to sound like we're negative about the first movie, but
but
there are little things that they've done for this one where it's it works, and it's actually kind of better.
Yeah.
Don't you dare bring that evil into my chat, Abomination. I had to fucking suffer through that Little Mermaid movie, and that still grates. That song's still great.
I'm so glad I didn't watch that movie. I have a policy: I don't watch soulless remakes.
Yeah, well, Steph wanted me to watch it because he wanted to talk about it on Talk Nerdy.
Yeah.
So I was kind of roped into it, but it was a pirate's life for me.
Yeah.
So at least I did not give Disney any money. But holy shit, I want that time back, because it was soulless. It was lifeless, soulless. There was nothing to.
They took out the main component to the story, which was a romance story.
Yeah, pretty much. So yes,
from what I hear, anyway.
You are of evil. Yes, you are. But anyway.
And she awoke and chose violence, so be careful.
Yes, I did. Pretty much. So I wish I could play. So I love when the oh god, what's their titles? It's been so long, and I'm so tired, I'm blanking. But whenever they're you can see how they make their jobs fun, by the aircraft know to take off, they get into the points and things like that. I love they have to find a way to at least make it entertaining that rather than just pointing, okay, you're good to go, things like that. They do their hand signals and everything. I love the cinematography in this, where you see the aircraft taking off and you see them landing and you see what it takes to land on a carrier, because you have these tail hooks on the crash. Because it's one thing to take off from a carrier, it's another thing to land, because you need a lot of runway space for the plane to stop. And when you're trying to land on a carrier, your space is incredibly limited. So they have methods to stop an aircraft, like pretty much essentially put like hard brakes on, so the aircraft will just like stop versus keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, as the pilot throttles down.
Oh yeah. The
Like
beginning of this,
I don't know, Winky.
how long has Winky been
I don't know.
a fan of this channel?
I don't know. Yes, unless it's a Harrier jet, because a Harrier jet can vertically take off and land. But for the most part, like basically the F-14s, the F-18s, the F-35s, and so forth, they do need runway space. And
another fun fact today, we had F-35s flying over my area. They take off from Vermont and do their maneuvers over New York airspace.
Yeah, hooks and nets. Typically the hooks. However, they had to use a net near the end, and when we get to the end, we'll talk about it, because there was no tail hook or wheel for the F-14. So they had to use the net to stop the F-14, and because there's a reason why Maverick is flying an F-14 in this movie. And again, a little bit of a stretch of the imagination, but still plausible.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess the term is tethered. I don't know. I don't know the lingo too well when it comes like from Air Force to Navy. Because I was land, never had to deal with any of the terminology when it comes to like aircraft carriers or anything like that. So. And this movie starts out with we find out like where Maverick is now. We don't exactly go through a rundown of everywhere he's been necessarily. It's like kind of like
nice.
Like he's in the Mojave Desert. He's actually living out essentially of an old naval hangar in the Mojave Desert in California, and he's basically been contracted because he's still employed with the Navy. He's still a captain, but he's still part of the Navy, and he's been contracted with this stealth jet program, and
Lockheed.
Yes, and they're you see on the calendar as he's leaving that they're going to run a mock test today, and so they're going to try to hit Mach 9. So, like that, basically, thinking we don't know exactly how long this has been happening, but we're at least. I like how we're not necessarily beaten over the head with everything that Maverick's done to catch everyone up, pretty much. Like we don't exactly need to know everything he's done from Top Gun to Top Gun Maverick. We know it's been 30 years, so chances are he's been many places. He's done. How I put this,
He's the most decorated he's the most decorated Navy captain in that universe. Let's just say that. By the way,
they make a point of like mentioning that when they say like you're still a captain.
Mach 9 is 6,905.42 miles per hour.
Yes, and that's the test that they need to run, like at least for this. And then when he gets to the base, and I love again still that's a Top Gun anthem because that's later, but he takes his motorcycle to the base where the testing site is occurring, and he finds out that their program is going to get shut down because what's the reason? Like the Drone
Ranger, Admiral Kane.
Admiral Kane, yeah, but like the reason given, which is a bullshit reason, essentially, was that they didn't meet the requirements. Because the ultimate goal for the contract requirement is to reach Mach 10. But Kane wants to shut the program down because he wants the money that's been used for this program for his drone program. So he's kind of like he's kind of basically going with like some backdoor scenarios, deals, things like that to try to to remove the funding from this.
Yeah.
And to put into his program because Maverick points out, we have 2 months until we have to actually reach
Mach 10.
push this jet to Mach 10. Like they still have time per the contract.
And funny that you say he's doing like back alley kind of nonsense because he's a rear admiral.
Yeah. So you see, this is a hangar. Like I said, it's an old United States Navy hangar that he's living out of. He basically has his trailer parked in there. He works on his own plane. It's basically a civilian plane, motorcycles. Yeah. He has pictures. You see, if I could play the shots, I would show you, but pictures of not only him and Goose, but Goose and his wife and his son. And then
Rooster
actually
growing up.
Yeah, and then Rooster as he is now, which tells you that he's basically been keeping up with
Rooster's career.
Yeah, so as he's leaving to go to the base, rear bases, pretty much. But anyway, so and Miles Teller said that the actors were allowed to choose their own call signs.
Huh.
And according to this trivia, he said, according to Miles Teller, the cast got to choose their own call signs, and he chose Rooster because it was in the same family as Goose.
Yeah.
So when you see the call signs on their helmets, if we were to believe Teller, they chose their own call sign. So Glenn Powell chose Hangman, and I guess in a way it makes sense to his character because there's a point where Phoenix, the female pilot, is saying, "Do you know why we call him Hangman?" Sort of situation, implying how he got his call sign. She's Phoenix. Yeah. You have Coyote,
Yale, Harvard, and Omaha. I have all their names. Fanboy, Payback.
Yeah.
Coyote, Fritz.
Yeah, Fritz. So they were I have basically the IMDb page with their names too, and they're ones that are more focused on than others, but they all picked their own call signs. So
Bradley Bradshaw.
I don't know what the reasoning. I don't know what the reasoning behind Fritz would be for a call sign because the others kind of make sense in a sense because Payback, it makes sense. Fanboy, even to a degree, makes sense.
Yeah.
Might be based on his personality, but Fritz, I was like, I'm not sure where your thinking was with that one, with the actor who picked it. But yeah, so I'm gonna kind of
But in true Maverick fashion, to get back on course, he's like, well, he's not here yet, so they want Mach 10. We'll give him Mach 10.
Yeah, like I said, like I said, there's still growth, but you do still see Maverick.
Yeah,
because he doesn't cave, he doesn't back down or anything like that. When he gets the news, he doesn't say, "Okay, well, let's pack up and everything." No, he's like, "Well, they want Mach 10. He's not here yet. We're going to give them Mach 10." And the reason why, not the only reason, but one of the reasons why he does this is because he says, "I know what happens to these men, these people, the ones who are part of the program. Everyone, if we don't."
Yeah.
So, the other part of the reason he does it is because, these people will lose their jobs, the contract they're part of now, and have not, would not have any clue as to where they'd be heading from here. They're still part of the Navy, but at the same time, it's if anybody's been in the military, they you would understand. Hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
They would be in that limbo scenario of hurry up and wait. They would have no idea where their progression would go after this point. So he's it's I have to do this for everyone working here because if I don't, everyone gets screwed essentially.
Yeah. And one of the things I like about the character of Hondo, he is basically Mav's best friend in this film, but I do love how he's not a replacement for Goose. He's his own character in a way.
Yeah.
And I just love how Bashir freaking plays him.
Yeah. I like when he asks Kane, like, did anyone offer you a coffee? He's like,
He just looks at him and he's like, "Fucking really?"
Yeah. And like Honda goes goes back to the screen.
Right.
I love
this
how
whole
he
scene was freaking great. We're having a hard time, or this is where we have a hard time with communication, sir. It's called Earth Bulge.
Yeah, he starts explaining it to Kane, and you see the guy, like the one guy, like
smirking his ass.
So I love, like they're still kind of pulling shits with an admiral. Like they're like, this is an admiral. This is one who could like pretty much
end their careers.
Bring them here, but end their careers.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, Ed Harris was good. Ed Harris is basically the Sokol's character in the first one.
Yep. Not to mention, he really was in that scene where the plane flies overhead. Ed Harris actually did that.
Yeah, I think there was hold on. Okay, here. The roof of the shack next to Ed Harris wasn't supposed to be lifted when Maverick flies past. However, they only had one chance to shoot it, so this was a very lucky occurrence. Yeah. So Ed Harris was there, and that roof did come off.
Oh yeah. And folks, the guy hiding behind the truck did so because he knew what was coming.
Yes.
Also, the Dark Star is supposedly a prototype successor for the SR-71 Blackbird by Lockheed.
It does very much kind of resemble the Blackbird, so I see the progression. But again, basically both are stealth air. Like this is stealth aircraft versus drone technology. So you have like these two programs butting heads at the beginning of this film because, again, Admiral Kane is in charge of the Drone Ranger program, and he even says when he's chewing Maverick out, and like I want to before we go into that part, I want to talk about I love when Maverick finally we don't see him land. We don't see him land, but he when he touches back down onto Earth, and he's disheveled, he's disoriented, he's dirty, and he's like kind of like just slowly making his way into this
dive,
this diner, like in the middle of just looks like in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. Yeah. And he comes in, and he can't even really talk because of the G's he's just saying, because he actually got the plane to not only Mach 10 but 10.1, which is
actually he got it up to 10.4 before master caution.
Yes, so which he wasn't supposed to do, because if anyone also understands the military, if they say the ceiling is this, you do not go past that ceiling. If they say it's Mach 10,
not 10.1, not 10.2, Mach 10.
So when Hondo says that is literally that is how the military works. That is per the contract. So if you break that, if you go past what the contract stipulates with the military, you kind of done fucked up.
Yep. And not to mention that Hondo knows he'll fucking do it, because he's saying, "Oh, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Just a little push."
Yeah, again, the old Maverick is coming through, and Hondo's like, "Don't do it." He knows Maverick. Don't do it. Once it reached 10, he knew Maverick would do. I mean, I guess that's a theory, but I prefer to think that he did live, because it's just weird.
There's no way he would have lived in real life, because going Mach 10 and aborting, your body would literally rip itself apart.
Yeah. So,
but he lived.
Yeah.
Where am I?
Earth. I love the kid just looks at him, and he's kind of like agape, pretty much mouth open, Earth.
And it's just freaking, I love that, man. And we also get one of the best lines when Kane's talking to him. It's like, what? Or you can't get a promotion, you won't retire, and despite your best efforts, you refuse to die.
Yeah.
And he's also has a distinguished career. And he's like, why is that? It's one of life's mysteries, sir. This isn't a joke.
Yeah.
I asked you a question.
Because I literally stopped on that line pretty much.
Yeah.
He's trying. Because like basically that's. It's not a running joke, but it's like one of those like it's like you are the most decorated captain. Like it's been 30 years. He's like you should at least be an admiral by now.
A 2-star admiral or a senator.
Yes. Because Iceman makes a return. Val Kilmer, like he's really the only one of the original cast, at least of the pilots, to return. And you see that he's a commander of the Pacific Fleet. So Iceman has pretty much progressed through the ranks.
He actually made admiral. But he is, or as that admiral, he is commander of the Pacific Fleet. Yep.
Yeah. So, because you see his picture when Maverick is like, he's finding out from Kane after this, and because Kane is kind of like, what's his name, Stinger, the call sign, and it's like Sokol's character in the first movie. Like like he really, really wants to ream Maverick out for this.
Call sign's Hammer.
Yeah.
According to some things.
For Kane.
Yeah. Call sign's Hammer.
Let me see.
I got, let's see here, Ed Harris. Yeah, Rear Admiral Chester.
He's not listed in the top cast for some reason.
I got the cast from IMDb up.
Yeah, I do too, but it shows top cast, and I'm gonna do all cast and crew. Ed Harris, real Chester, Hammer, Kane. Yes.
Yep.
So basically, but lo and behold, a guardian angel has stepped in with, as Kane puts it, impeccable timing, because he was ready to drum Maverick out of the Navy. But a call came in, and
with impeccable timing,
where Maverick has to go, North Island.
And one of the things is, in that moment, he's telling him, he's like, escort this man off the base, or I want somebody there to help, or while he packs his gear. You see that Maverick thinks he's finally out. You see the disappointment on his face. I want him in North Island, or on the road in North Island within the hour. That's when it's like, oh, what?
What?
Sir? Voodoo is where
called back to Top Gun. You've been called back to Top Gun, and we also, let's basically talk a bit more about Maverick, because we find out, and I love how we're not really beaten over the head with exposition. We kind of find you basically get a little bit of exposition here and there in the dialogue, so we can basically piece together Maverick's life essentially. And at one point, because it does play into the first movie, that he was a Top Gun instructor. He said it lasted only 2 months because that wasn't for him. So that it wasn't for me. But it's like when Kane says you've been called back to Top Gun, Maverick was an instructor for at least a little bit.
Oh yeah.
So
because we also learned at the end of Top Gun, he wanted to be an instructor, and that's when what's his name was like, God help us.
Yeah. So again, basically close the circle. The lines aren't just dropped and forgotten essentially, because people who came back to work on this movie said, "Oh, he said something about being a Top Gun instructor, so let's have at least through the dialogues, as an example that he was at one point a Top Gun instructor." Yeah, callbacks. Oh my God, they're actual callbacks to the first, first film, but not at the behest of the second film. So it's not all member berries or anything like that. It's literally the continuation.
Yep.
And
the end is inevitable, Maverick. Your kind is heading towards extinction. Maybe so, sir.
But not today.
But not today.
Yeah, I do like that line. There's
I turned that into a GIF.
Yeah.
This movie is a GIF goldmine, folks.
So, and we get a little bit of callback again when he's finally made it to North Island. To basically call back to the first movie where he's riding his motorcycle, and you see in the first movie it's an F-14. Mm-hmm. And this one's I believe an F-18. Yeah.
Yep.
pass. So kind of like a callback to how he arrives at North Island in the first movie. And that's when. So I'm gonna get a shot of both Cyclone and Warlock together, if possible. I'm gonna talk about these characters because I don't know if we can. Hold on. Well, here I'll just stop here. Yeah. But basically, this is where we meet John Hamm's character Cyclone and
Charles Parnell.
Yeah. I almost said Chris, but I was like, wait a minute. Charles Parnell's Warlock, both admirals. The Cyclone is of the two the superior, but both are admirals. Both are the leads for this mission, and we find out the reason why Maverick has been called back is because there's like I love how they keep the enemy purposely ambiguous in this. Like you could probably deduce what country, based on the aircraft that the enemy is, but for the most part they leave it ambiguous, so it's really up in the air. Red
Star basically gives it away, folks. But
I said Parnell. Yeah. I almost said Chris, but wait a minute.
Yeah.
So it's a top secret mission, and they're going to be enriching uranium.
Yeah.
It's basically against. Basically, they would be a threat to allies in the region. So we have to take out this uranium enrichment plant that is been built underground, and not only been built underground, it's in this basin, essentially, with the only
hole.
Yeah, basically with this only point of entry, this valley, and that's the only way that they can get in without being detected by the. They keep saying surface air. They keep saying surface air missiles, but basically SAMs.
SAM sites.
Yeah.
Yep.
And based on the SAMs in this movie, that tells me that those are SA-3s.
Yeah.
Surface air missiles, pretty much. So again, it leaves it purposely ambiguous because there are multiple countries that have SA-3s, so they're able to have an enemy in this movie without ruffling any feathers, essentially, given the political atmosphere amongst the countries nowadays.
Even though they did basically say "fuck you" to China in this film.
Yeah,
with the patch, because we all remember the controversy when the trailer came out and it showed his patch or they changed the patches to appease to China, but then they put them in the final cut of the movie, and China absolutely refused to let the movie be released in their country.
Yeah,
and it still made $1 billion, folks. So yeah, to the commies. Sit on it and twirl.
So I'd say probably GPS jamming, because they had to make it at least per the scenario, they had to make it believable, like why they would have to do it. It's like the scenario, and Maverick.
He did say this would be a cakewalk for the F-35 stealth. However, GPS jamming negates that.
Yeah.
And
so that basically requires them to use F-18s.
Yep.
And initially Maverick thinks that he's going to be leading it, and they're like, no, like,
we don't want you to fly it. We want you to teach it.
Yes.
Teach, sir.
So not what Maverick initially expected, and even John Hamm is he's not like John Hamm and Charles Parnell. They're not in it a lot, but when they are in the scenes, they are both great as their characters. Yeah. And John Hamm, you could tell that he is very much like Iceman from the first movie. He is by the book.
Iceman is a man, or Iceman is someone I deeply admire.
Yes. So he is very much like Kazansky, right? Very much by the book, and it's like doesn't want to bend the rules or anything like that.
Yeah.
And he's like you weren't my first choice.
In fact, you weren't even on the list.
Yes. But somehow, because because he's talking about how he respects Iceman, because
you are here by order of Admiral Kazansky.
Yes, because we'll talk about Kazansky, because I love, again, there's a little bit of evolution with Kazansky's character, because he's a commander, so he obviously has to be by the book. He has to be basically he cannot bend the rules or anything like that, but he understands that this is a mission that requires a Maverick touch. because this is not going to be necessarily by the book. Like they're like pretty much going in top secret mission. Like it's like
Well,
no
not
one's
only
gonna know.
that,
No one even though people in the military wouldn't know. Like, that's how top secret this would be. Like only those need to know would be part of this. So
and not only that, the reason why they called Maverick in is because he had real world experience with every aspect of the mission: the trench run, the steep climb, the dogfighting if necessary.
Mm-hmm.
But fifth gen fighters, by the way, folks, these are adapted Su-57s, but the movie puts them in there digitally. However, they did have Raptors in or available for templates, essentially.
Mm-hmm. So, and you see basically the pilots. I have this I stopped on this shot pretty much because you see all the pilots. There's like Fritz, there's Bob, Halo, Payback, Hangman, Rooster, Yale, Harvard, Fanboy, Coyote, Phoenix, and
Omaha is in back.
Yeah, Omaha.
You can't, or you won't see it, but yeah, Omaha.
Yeah, the way Maverick is standing. But look at all that diversity.
Mm-hmm.
Again, no one cares because again, it's not about the superficial qualities. You just introduce them as characters.
And also, folks, they're not men, women, Asian, Hispanic, or anything. They're pilots.
Yeah.
That's all they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have friends who are in the military. One of the things that one of them is now out, but he's like, before all this bullshit wokeness came into it, we weren't man, we weren't woman, we weren't any of that. We were grunts. We were soldiers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Airmen. Still.
Yeah.
Airmen. I didn't care the fact that it was not airwoman or anything like that. We are airmen, wingmen. I still use that terminology because there's and again, did not care because you want true equality would be before the wokeness permeated the military was the military because they did not look at you as necessarily man or woman. You were I can only say the Air Force ranks, but you were a sergeant, you were a tech sergeant, you were this, or whatever role you were, and you were paid based on your rank and time in rank. So it did not matter if you were man or woman. There's the whole fucking wage gap shit going on. No, true equality.
That's a myth.
Rank and experience. All right. So, yeah. I mean, I would like to get the same pay as someone with more experience, but I know I'm not going to, and I don't care because I have less experience, and that's how the pay grades went.
Exactly.
True equality.
Now everything's being changed because there's too many fucking whiners in charge.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh my god, they need to be drummed out. But anyway, it focuses on Rooster because they basically they pretty much focus on Rooster because of the fact that he is Goose's son. So
and he also asks, "Is there a problem?" You know there is, sir.
Yeah, and we find out what the problem is later.
Yep.
But yeah, there is going to be a little bit of an issue there, but it's not. But again, Maverick has to look past that because he has to train these guys.
Yep.
He has to train these guys. He has to prepare them in 3 weeks. Right now, as they know, because anything could change. In 3 weeks, he has to make these pilots, or at least a chunk of them, mission ready. Because, and I like how it's either in this scene or another scene, but he basically this is a mission that where someone could not come back.
Yeah, somebody's not coming back from this.
Yeah, this is basically the gravity of the situation because everything that we're going to have, I'm going to have to teach them. This is a mission where somebody's not going to come back.
Yep. And one of the things they do in this movie is they have him texting with Ice.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest nitpick for this movie, folks, is literally the response time of Ice. The second Maverick sends it, Ice is typing.
Yeah, I know.
Which it's almost as if, well, you already know the damn script, so you're basically typing the script. It doesn't give him a chance to actually read or comprehend.
Yeah.
However, believe it or not, you could make the point where Ice knows him so damn well, he knows what he's going to say.
Which is, again, believable. It's plausible
Mhm.
because it's
Because
how
they've been friends
Top
for
Gun
30 years.
how Top Gun ended, where it's like they were kind of, I don't want to say they were enemies in the first Top Gun movie. They were kind of like
Rivals.
they were rivals. But that rivalry grew respect. And basically from the rivalry to respect to friendship. They've been basically friends for 30 years. So and this is where we're introduced to Penny Benjamin. So talk about like Jennifer Connelly's character in this.
The Admiral's daughter.
Yeah, definitely has history with Pete Mitchell, with Maverick.
Yep.
He's like, it's like, oh, first time it happened, you were shipped to Bosnia, then to Iraq. The second time.
Both times, yeah. I mean, he took her up originally in F-14 from what we understand in the first movie. And she mentions in this one, they get taken up in an F-18. And I'm thinking to myself, was that a mistake or did he actually take her up twice? How the fuck is he still in the military?
Basically, again, that's kind of like the almost a running joke. It's like, it's like you're the most decorated captain. It's like, how are you still in how are you still in the Navy? Like you've hardly progressed in rank. Yet you're one of the most decorated captains. You're one of the most decorated captains, and you've basically it's like multiple accommodations and things like that. But
well, he says he's where he belongs, and it's all well and good, but the reason why he won't accept a promotion is because if he goes above captain, he's grounded.
Yeah.
Essentially. That's why he will not allow himself to be promoted. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you might even think he purposefully gets in trouble so he doesn't get promoted.
Which is again, plays to his character because he's never really been one, unlike Iceman, that's by the book. And he's the one, he was the hotshot pilot in the first one. He basically felt at home in the cockpits. So he doesn't see himself doing anything other than flying to some degree, whether it's F-14s, F-18s, whether it's the stealth pilot or the stealth plane program that he's contracted for at the beginning of this movie. It's he has to be flying. He doesn't see himself doing anything else. So when he's told pretty much that he's going to be an instructor, he's taken aback because this is when he said that he was only an instructor at Top Gun for 2 months, it wasn't for me. He's not the type to allow himself to be kind of relegated to just an instructor role. But at this point, he's basically told flat out that this is your last post. So you either do this or you're out of the Navy. Yeah.
Yep. You fly for Top Gun or you don't fly for the Navy ever again.
Yeah. So if he doesn't do this, he's out of the Navy. Cyclone pretty much makes that clear to him. You have no choice. So Maverick is essentially between a rock and a hard place to a certain degree in this regard. But ultimately he takes it because he doesn't want to be drummed out. He doesn't want to leave the Navy. And this at least give him a chance to fly planes because as per being an instructor, part of that is air-to-air combat training that we see later on in the movie.
Yep.
So we get this little, I love we're playing catch up with Penny Benjamin. She has been running this bar for the past 3 years. So basically, she and her daughter have moved back to North Island.
Winky, you got to look at her now. He's talking about Kelly McGillis.
Yeah, and she did not.
Dude, she did not. She aged like sour milk. Yeah. No offense to her, but she aged like sour milk. Hey, Cassie, what's up, folks? I'm sorry, I got to say this, Mara. Every time I discuss Top Gun Maverick or talk about Top Gun Maverick, Cassie, I always make the joke that Cassie looks like Phoenix.
Okay. Yep. So, and this is where we're actually also introduced to the pilots, and we get a gauge of their personalities.
Yep.
Let me see if I can get a shot of let me see. Oh, like she has to bring. He puts his cell phone on the bar, so it's he basically has to buy rounds for the pilot. So
there's Hangman.
Yeah.
Glenn Powell, who is essentially a younger version of Maverick, folks.
Yeah, he pretty much is Maverick.
He's all ego.
The first Top Gun, like the air, like a little bit of the arrogance, the cockiness. Because at one point he says, like who's going to be leader, and who has what it takes to follow me.
Yep.
So
then you got Phoenix here with that's Payback.
Yeah, that's Payback.
Yep.
So let me see if let me mute this so I can play it a little bit. Because there's Fanboy.
Yep.
And
Coyote's with Hangman.
Yeah, there's Coyote. And then I love when Phoenix looks over, like, who's he?
Who's he? Who's who?
It's like, and they like assume that Bob has just gotten there. He's like, no, I've been here this whole time.
Man, stealth pilot, literally, weapons operator, or weapons systems operator with no sense of humor.
Yeah, I love that. Which is essentially the role that Goose had. Who's he? Who's who? And she looks over and
he's brushing crumbs off his jaw.
Hey Lancer, did you mention that she plays David Bowie songs in her bar? No, I haven't mentioned that yet. Because we're basically talking about the bar scene because we're introduced both to Penny Benjamin and the pilots. At least in terms of like at least the pilots that we're gonna be focusing on. Which is this basically core group right here, with the exception of Rooster, who comes in late. And I love how Rooster comes in because he very much like in like the shirt he has reminds me of like when Anthony Edwards is playing Great Balls of Fire, like that type of shirt, basically. Like it very much reminds me of Anthony Edwards from the first movie.
Yep, he's not dressed, or he doesn't have his formal.
Like I love it. Everyone has their I'm not sure if it's called. It's not a flight suit. But I'm not sure what it's called in the Navy, basically. But uniform. Let's put it this way: uniform on. And he comes in jeans, white t-shirts, and some like semi-Hawaiian shirt, pretty much.
Yeah.
Very much looks like I said, like a freaking spitting image of Anthony Edwards.
Yeah. Not to mention, in this scene, you get a very clear idea that Phoenix and Rooster have some sort of history.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't even say necessarily romantic.
I think just good friends, because she kind of chastises him for not letting her know that he was back.
Yeah, I would actually say it's almost more like brother sister.
Yeah, like there's like nothing really romantic. And when he says weapon system officer, that's essentially what Goose's role was in the F-14. It's just a different title back then. So when Goose was before he was Rio, basically radar intercept officer, and then basically he was changed to weapons system officer. So he's essentially the same role with some differences, because obviously differences from F-14 to F-18. So he is Phoenix's backseater.
Yeah.
So he's the one that controls the weapon system, locks on the missiles, things like that, tells her where the enemy is, who's coming, things like that. So he's basically like the pilot's eyes in the sky, because the pilot has to focus forward, pretty much, and he has to look around and tell the pilot, 10 o'clock high.
Navy working uniform, NWU.
Yes.
Thank you, Trey.
Okay. So I'm not sure of the terminology, because I was Air Force.
Yeah.
So
Air Force hates the Navy and the Army hates Marines.
Yeah. Bob is the actor who plays Bob is Lewis Pullman, and he's Bill Pullman's son.
And he's fucking almost a spitting image of his father too.
Yes. So
both great actors.
Bob from Trailer Park, but he is Bill Pullman's son.
Yep.
Yeah, with his goose mustache. Yeah.
Bill Pullman played the president.
Yes.
in a lovely show where I believe his son actually played in it one time, or was either in it or was a guest in it.
Yeah.
But
I like how also said something like to Phoenix's character because Hangman is poking fun at Bob.
yeah,
And Phoenix, Bob could have easily been the comic relief, the butt of jokes throughout the entire film, pretty much. But Phoenix is like, all right, like she kind of like basically brings him into the fold, like 9-ball, rack him, and hands him the pool stick.
mm-hmm.
So it kind of brings him in, essentially brings him into the group because he was like basically said, I've been here the entire time, so it tells you kind of his personality where he's not exactly social or anything like that. And
Yeah.
so and she kind of brings like, okay, rack him, hands on the pool stick. You're one of us essentially.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you gotta wear glasses, are you ever gonna get in a plane for the Air Force or Navy?
When I was in, you could wear glasses
And be a pilot?
and be a pilot. You could wear glasses, but you could not get corrective surgery.
Well, yeah, that costs a lot of money, and the military doesn't want to shell that shit out.
Yeah, but it's like I think it's like per like being a pilot. So
Yeah.
at least within the guard, I'm not sure how it is with active duty, but at least within the guard, you could be a pilot and wear glasses. Like ideally, you would not have the need for it, but they weren't strict.
Yeah. Bill Pullman and aliens.
So Lance says,
That's not Bill Pullman. That's Bill Paxton, Winky. You're talking to two fucking aliens fans. Get that shit right, boy.
Play it again. No worries. No worries.
Wow, Winky, dude. I mean, you may be Scottish, my Scottish brother, but don't ever screw that up again.
So you can wear glasses and still be a pilot, but unless anything's changed, you just could not get corrective surgery, and still be a pilot. Like if you did that, then no, you can't be a pilot anymore. I'm not sure the reason why, but I just remember that was the case when I was in.
Yeah. Winky, I'm also joking with you, pal.
Although
we are
U.S. MSC officers and doctors in the U.S. Public Health Service wear the same uniform. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So, one of the jokes is Navy stands for Never Again Volunteer Yourself. There's really no acronym for Army, but the acronym for that Marine is muscles are required, intelligence not expected. So that's what Marine stands for. It's like per the joke between amongst the branches. So, we would joke that again, when I say rivalry amongst the branches is more like banter, essentially, basically ribbing, but we'd always have each other's backs, and the Air Force would joke that at least we can color within the lines. So things like that.
We also see that Hangman and Rooster have history as well. He's still an asshole.
Yeah.
Right. Still an asshole. Yep.
Get to Maverick has to buy rounds. Okay, let's talk about Rooster. All right, because there's history. He has history with Phoenix. That's kind of like a brother-sister relationship, or at least very good friends, because she ribs him for not letting her know that he's back. Then he has history with Hangman, much like the tension that Maverick and Iceman had in the first movie. There's that tension pretty much because of Hangman's personality.
Yeah, a little bit more personal. I mean, he literally tells Hangman, it's like, Hangman, the only place you'll lead anyone is an early grave.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, that's kind of cold to throw at somebody. Mm-hmm. So that tells me you got some serious problems between you two.
Yeah.
But also Hangman ribs Rooster for being slow to the game, snug on that perch, waiting for the right moment that never comes. So in a sense, Hangman's Maverick and Rooster is Iceman. Because Rooster's by the book.
Yeah. Which again plays into the scenario of this film, because he has to basically learn to be a Maverick.
Yeah.
Because he's by the book. And this is a mission that really does not allow someone to stay by the book. really isn't allowed to say, anyone to say by the book because of this. Literally, the steps in place, like for this mission. You're traveling the trench route, right? The mountain bowl, having to invert the aircraft as you're going down, and then
pop back up. And then
you're pulling like 9 Gs because you have to have that steep climb after you have released your missiles.
And you got to fight to stay awake. You got to fight to stay aware, because the second you get to the top of that climb, you're about to be fired on.
Yeah. Both by
yeah.
surface-to-air missiles and any aircraft that's been
alerted to your presence.
Yeah. And like they literally say, like, you know, like when they're going through the briefing at one point in the movie, like because they're gonna, what the plan is that from the off coast, basically the Navy is going to fire tomahawk missiles at the airfield. So they basically say, once we do that, they're going to be alerted that shit is going down. So you're going to you have this much time to get to the target. You have to hit the targets. You have to perform that steep climb at 9 Gs, with like the F-18 is technically only supposed to top 7.5 Gs. So you're going above the max Gs, technically, that, like, you know, you should be able to sustain with the FA-18 Hornet, right? Mm-hmm. And if you are lucky to not pass out at that point, you are going to have to deal with SA-3s, because they don't say that, but it tells me those are SA-3s based on how they look, and alerted enemy aircraft.
Yep.
It's going to be a dogfight home.
He tells them, if these things find you in an F-18, these 5th gens, you're dead, essentially. Mm-hmm. But one of the best things about Rooster, or one of his best lines, it's not the plane, it's the pilot.
Yes. Which I like that scene, because it's between it's kind of like the conversation is essentially between him and Maverick, but it's during a instructional session, pretty much. And Maverick comes back at him exactly, but the way he says exactly is like
he's telling it exactly. You're not that good of a pilot.
Yes.
Essentially,
you see it on Rooster's face. Like, he understands why Maverick said exactly, because it wasn't Maverick agreeing with him or anything like that. Like, Maverick was saying exactly, and you're not ready.
And then he throws it right back. There's more than one way to fly this mission.
Yeah.
Except that's also when Hangman opens his mouth. Now, I discussed this yesterday while we're in that small moment. Somebody, or correct me if I'm wrong, in any branch of the military, if they tell you to stop talking, you freaking shut your damn mouth.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
When Hangman pushes Rooster to the point where Rooster's ready to go at him,
he's disobeying orders of a superior officer at that
point. Definitely. I mean, it's like you just instigated a conflict right now.
Yeah.
Not only that, you disobeyed a direct order to shut your mouth.
Yeah.
So it's like, I would have said, dude, you want to be the first one to get kicked out? Keep it up. Because he's all ego. This is somebody who doesn't know how to let go of that ego. And we'll get to that later. But let's get to the dogfighting, or to the...
I wish I could play the scenes, because I love...
Yeah.
Like the initial, because you have the pilots talking to each other, and Maverick is kind of below them.
Yeah, he's kind of...
he's talking to them, but he's below them, so they can't see where he is.
Yep.
And he just shoots up between them, like I'm here, motherfuckers. Pretty much.
Turn and burn, boys.
Yeah.
And they all have to do 200 push-ups if they get shot down.
Yeah, so let's make it interesting. I wish I could play the scenario.
Yeah.
Let's make it interesting.
It was all fun and games with that selfie, wasn't it?
Yeah, because these 3 guys, like I said, I wish I could play the entire scene, because these 3 guys in particular, like Rooster is doing push-ups.
Yep.
And they take a selfie. And they get their pretty much butts handed to them by Maverick. So they have to do push-ups. And Hondo is like, like it's all fun and games with that selfie, isn't it? I love Hondo in this scene because he's like, he's just like 1, 2. He's the one counting
their push-ups. And it's like, damn! I just love how that goes. And you also have freaking Hangman just ripping on Bob. He's like, why don't we tell him that Bob stands for something? I get a baby on board. And he just starts laughing, and that's when Maverick freaking just flies in between them again. So shit!
I love the reactions for the pilots because it literally is oh shit what Maverick does.
Because and I love Maverick. Okay, Maverick, let's not get fired on the first day.
Yes, because this is after he does that the first time because he's he knew he pushed the limits when he did that.
Oh yeah.
It's like, okay, let's not get fired on the first day. So he's like, okay, let's just stick to, because they have the hard deck of 5,000 feet. Don't go below 5,000 feet.
Yep.
It's like basically, really, the whole point of this training session is to see what these pilots have. So he's not really training them in anything specific. He just wants to gauge their abilities in this scenario. So he basically, Maverick is the bandit. He's the enemy, and the 2 other F-18s, basically the lead and the wing, and the wingman, pretty much, have to take down Maverick. So
and it's 2-on-1 every time, and he smokes them all.
He smokes them all, and we find out essentially why Hangman is called Hangman, because he hangs you out to dry, essentially, because he pulls literally a Maverick move, and then he goes off by himself and leaves his wingman. And I like how Maverick takes out Phoenix, pretty much Phoenix and Bob.
Yeah.
And even Hangman is he's calling to them, and Phoenix is like, I'm dead, dickhead. Like, what do you want me to do?
After bag man.
Yeah. I'm dead, dickhead.
Yeah, I'm dead, dickhead. I just love how she said. But I also it's called you a man, Phoenix. You gonna take this so long as he doesn't call you a man.
Holds her own. It's not all about the power of the uterus. It's that banter, pretty much.
Yeah, it's just freaking great banter between them. And while Hangman's actually pretty skilled, he's not as good as Maverick, where Maverick goes straight up into the sun and then pops out underneath him, and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, because it's because we didn't talk about this, but I love the reaction of the pilots when Maverick walks into the hangar.
Oh yeah, because they tossed him out.
They tossed him out of the bar because something happened with his card. He wasn't able to pay the tab. So so basically he gets tossed out, and he called pops and things like that. And then there's the oh shit looks when they see him walking into the hangar.
He looks back, and Hangman looks back.
Oh shit! Yeah.
And you also see Payback's like, hi.
Yeah. Hi.
Morning.
Yeah.
It's like, oh fuck, we just tossed this dude out. Thanks for the beers. Come back anytime. Yes. I'm gonna smoke your asses like a freaking cigar when we all go freaking dogfighting.
And we also didn't talk about this, but I love how Maverick kind of irks Cyclone in this scene, but in a way, it's I don't fault Maverick. I don't fault Maverick with his approach, because he says, I trust you all know. He holds up the manual for the F-18. You all know this. You all know this. Pretty much. And he goes, and he dumps into the wastebasket. And he goes, so does your enemy, which is true. Basically, we all right, shocker. We go out of our way to learn about our enemy, and guess what? The enemy goes out of its way to learn about us. So they're going to learn the ins and outs of the aircraft too. But he says, but what the enemy doesn't know is your limits, and I'm here to test those, pretty much.
And test them, push beyond.
Yes.
And today we're gonna cover what you only think you know. Show me what you're made of. And the scene between Rooster and Maverick, the second one when Hangman's up there with them, where they do the whole Cobra maneuver, it is such a powerful scene because these two are literally about to run their planes into the ground, And Rooster is the one that was pissed off about it. By the way, folks, that was digital. When you see Maverick invert, that is actually digitally done.
And at least in this regard, it wasn't Hangman flying off. It was Rooster, pretty much. Like Rooster kind of pulls a Maverick move and just, it's like, it's like basically it's on, and they just
like,
guns it after Maverick.
Let's get it over with.
Yeah,
because he knows he's got a lot of freaking animosity built up in him. Yeah, he's like, let's just get it over with, man.
Yeah, and that's when we that's when we get the scene not long after that where Maverick is being
ripped.
He's basically being reprimanded because he also broke the hard deck, which is and you're not allowed to do that because, as per Cyclone points out correctly, that it's not only for the safety of the pilots but for the integrity of the aircraft. So it's like that's why the hard deck is there for a reason. You do not go below the hard deck.
It's a law as immutable as gravity.
And that's when he says, it's like, if like from now on, because Maverick, again, to his credit, yes, he does not his approach is less than ideal when it comes to dealing with his superiors. But again, he does have a point in essentially what like how he's going to move forward is that's because these pilots are going to have to be used to flying below the hard deck. Like they're literally doing a trench run. They can't go above a certain altitude, otherwise they get the radar for the SAMs will detect them. Yep. So they're going to have to learn to fly below that hard deck. So, and he's like, and I love when Cyclone goes like, I want it in writing. Like, and Maverick is like, and he just hands him.
Yeah.
In writing.
What's this? It's a request to lower the hard deck per mission parameters.
Yes. And the look on Cyclone's face, I just love. He's like, ugh.
You can learn a little thing about timing, Captain.
That was Warlock, we said, because we didn't talk about this, but it seems like also that Maverick has kind of like a friendship with Warlock, because you have Cyclone doesn't really like Maverick because like Cyclone is a lot like Iceman. He's by the book, things like that. But with Warlock, there is a bit of camaraderie.
Yeah.
With Maverick, like there is a little bit of a friendship there. So like when he says like you need to learn about something about timing.
Yeah. Hey
Teresa. So again, I like, oh my god, a black actor and like he's in the superior officer role, but it's not about that fact. No, he's just an admiral.
Yep.
He's just a command. Basically, he's just a commander.
Then we get a nice scene with Penny and Maverick on a boat where this is actually something that is played very well. Mm-hmm. There's also hiccup or a mess up in the scene where he almost falls into the water, where she's like, crank it, you okay? That wasn't scripted like that. That was actually a small oopsie, but they kept it in because it had a more genuine feel. But also this scene where she's in control and he's learning is a nice reversal, but it's done in such a way that doesn't push any sort of crap in it either. It's just them having a nice time together.
Yeah, because she even ribs him like, I thought you were Navy, and he's like, I fly, I
land on
planes and carriers. I don't sail them, or like something like that. Like
I don't drive them.
Yeah, it's like I don't. So it's like, so she's kind of like like she's ribbing him, but at the same time she's like teaching him, okay, like it's pull that, crank that, because she's taking the boat in because the engine is having issues, and her daughter was originally going to go with her, but the daughter has to study for a test, so Maverick offers to go, so that way Penny has someone helping her. In this, and so basically it's kind of like a very cute moment between the two, because it kind of like plays into that they've had a relationship, so they know each other. They like there is that ribbing, and things like that, and
and they still end up catching feels for each other, because when she closes the door at home, she's looking up like, oh my god, I'm catching feelings.
And because there's kind of two jokes with Maverick's face in this movie. One where Hondo says, I don't like that look, Maverick, and Maverick responds, it's the only one I got. Yeah, and she even says, it's like don't give me that
look.
Like, like that one. Like, she's not even looking at him. Like, that's how well she knows him, pretty much.
Well, look, that one.
So
I wasn't given a look.
yeah. It also works because Berlin isn't playing every 5 seconds. Yeah, as much as I like the Berlin song, I will give you that.
Yeah. In fact, actually, Berlin was replaced by Lady Gaga's "Hold My Hand," which is heavy throughout this film.
Mm-hmm.
The instrumental to it,
Which I don't really mind. It's like it's yeah, it's kind of a nitpick, but at the same time, it's like I don't really mind. It doesn't take away from the film. Like it doesn't for
No,
me.
it
It doesn't really
doesn't.
take away from the film.
No, it doesn't. Which is honestly, I fully admit I have no problem with Lady Gaga's music. I mean, some of it is a little bit definitely trashy, but this song specifically is actually pretty good to listen to. I also listen to it, the instrumental for it, whenever I need to freaking decompress.
Mm-hmm.
It's my go-to in this case.
Well, Winky, if you have to ask this question, that's why.
It's like, dude, you're literally.
Yeah, it's more like for me, it's kind of like more like a gripe. I don't mind it. It's like I said, it doesn't take me out of the movie. It doesn't it's not doesn't really negate anything where it's like I can't stand this or anything like that. It's like for me, it's like it is what it is. Pretty much, it is what it is. Can't really change anything now. Pretty much.
Honestly, Lancer, in this scene or in this song, I thought it did pretty well because she actually wrote the song, and Faltermeyer came back, but also joined Hans Zimmer for the score. They also assisted with the score as well. It works.
Yeah, but with this logic, Lancer, neither does "You Lost That Love and Feeling" or Berlin's "Take My Breath Away."
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna use that logic, then you'd have to remove "You Lost That Love and Feeling" and "Take My Breath Away."
Yep.
Because neither one of those, if you think about it, really fit the first Top Gun movie, but they're iconic from the first Top Gun movie. I'm not saying this song is gonna become iconic. I'm just saying that per that logic, wouldn't really work either.
Yep.
But anyway, so I'm trying to get to like certain parts. Like, I mean,
this is the low level, of course.
Yeah, this is the low level, and I this is where because Hangman has basically put two and two together. Why there's animosity between Rooster, or at least what he did.
Coyote,
the reason
him and Coyote saw the picture.
Yeah, saw the picture of Maverick and Goose is in the picture as well. So they think they've deduced the reason why Rooster has there's tension between him and Maverick.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily correct, but this is like where you point out that Hangman should have nearly gotten kicked out.
Oh yeah,
based on what he did.
Because he's like, I'm not the only one, or I know I'm not the only one here that knows that Rooster's old man flew with, or Maverick flew with Rooster's old man, and that Maverick was there when Rooster's, and they didn't get any further because Rooster flew off right then and there.
Yeah. So like I was saying, but basically you can pretty much put two and two together. That's the conclusion that Hangman and Coyote have come to, and that is the reason why Rooster has any animosity towards Maverick is because he blames Maverick for his father's death. But that we find out that that's not the case.
He holds him accountable. He doesn't, or he knows the specifics that it was an accident, but he still holds him accountable because he tells him flat out, my father believed in you. I'm not going to make that mistake.
Mm-hmm. Well, true. He does hold him accountable. Like, doesn't really blame him, but does hold him accountable. However,
it's mainly because
because we find out that Maverick stopped Rooster's initial application into the Naval Academy
and set him back 4 years.
Yeah, and that's the reason why. And then that could also play into the line where it's like, my father trusts you, I won't make that same mistake, because you could imagine that Maverick has most likely been like a second father to Rooster, and when Maverick did that, like up to that point, Rooster trusted him like a second father, and realized like to him, like that trust was misplaced because you stabbed me in the back by holding me back that 4 years, set me back 4 years.
And there's a reason why Maverick did it.
Yeah.
And he confesses it to Penny. And it's like his mother didn't want him flying, not after what happened to Goose. So she made me promise to never let him go. So I pulled his papers the first time.
And like Penny, like basically Penny asks him, you know, like,
does Rooster know
like,
that?
Yeah, does Rooster know that? And he's like, well, he already resents me, so why should he resent her? So basically, like Maverick is pretty much taking the entire heat for that.
Yep.
Like he could have easily explained the situation to Rooster, but he's like Rooster's mother has passed away. Like between the initial like time he pulled his papers to now, Rooster's mother has passed away. So he's like, why should he resent her? He's already.
You don't talk down about the dead, especially if you're in the military.
Yeah, so it's like he's not going to. He's going to basically take the heat. It's like, why should he resent her? He's lost both his parents. He's already has this resentment towards me. So, like, I'm not
a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not going to make it worse for him.
And I do like how you get more of his or Hangman's ego. It's like I was flying kind of like my ass dependent on it, and also Maverick basically letting all of them know this shit is going to get so real that if you fuck up and somehow survive, don't tell it to me, tell it to their family. One that their family will accept at the funeral. He wants them to know this is not anything you can fuck up with.
Yeah, he's asking each time, like basically, because like if I could play the scene, you see like the times that the aircraft has broken.
Yep.
The broken that because it's supposed to stay below hard deck, the ceiling. They're supposed to, if they break it, then they are like seen by the radar. And it's like
yep.
And he asked like I think it was Payback when he's
why are you dead?
And he's like it's like one that their family will accept.
Yep.
And he's like, no, I don't have any I don't have any explanation that they would
none,
accept.
Sir.
Yeah, none, sir.
And then he asks Phoenix, why didn't you anticipate the turn? You were briefed on the terrain. Don't tell it to me. Tell it to his family. And she's looking at Bob, and Bob's looking down, kind of pissed off himself, too.
Yeah.
Because when Rooster actually completes the course a minute late, she actually comes to his defense. He's the only one that made it through. A minute late. He's dead.
Yeah.
But after that scene, we get this scene.
So, and that's when... Why is my phone not wanting to unlock? Did it die?
I'm going to flat out freaking admit right now, folks, when I saw this scene in theaters, I cried. Because how do you not have any sort of tear duct action when Maverick is literally pouring his heart out in front of Ice? And Ice is looking at him, basically feeling that kind of, or his pain too.
I can't turn my phone on for some reason.
Did it run out of juice?
Oh, it shouldn't have, but I guess so. It should show a battery saying it's charging, but it's not, even if it ran out.
Oh, damn. Didn't get it wet, did you?
No, just been sitting here on my desk.
Hmm.
Well, that's I'll just leave it in charge or see if it does anything.
More.
But yeah, so this is the only scene we see with Val Kilmer in it, because Val Kilmer in real life is
sick.
Yeah. So him even talking in the scene would have been a struggle. And so he basically tells Maverick, like, it's like, I need to see you. Maverick says it's not a good time. He's like, I'm not asking. Pretty much it's an order. Come here. And
they used his son to provide the voice.
Yeah. So when has to use a computer, pretty much, the monitor, and type out his responses. he's talking to him about, because he's like pretty
I
much
wanna talk
Rooster is
about
the
work.
focus of the conversation, where he's like, Maverick's like, he's not ready. He's like, then teach him.
He doesn't want what I have to teach. He doesn't want what I have to give. And he's still pissed off about what happened. And then he tells him it's time to let go. And Maverick just breaks down. He's like, I don't know how. I'm not a teacher, Ice. I'm a pilot. I'm a naval aviator. It's not what I am. It's who I am.
I think an update went through because like the Apple symbol came up, and I'm like, you son of a bitch. Anyway, but like he's like, again, like this is incredibly, basically incredibly moving. Because like I said, this tells you, like I mentioned earlier, that Iceman realizes that this mission requires a Maverick touch. Like, then teach him.
Yep.
Like, basically make him ready.
And he's basically trying to get him to teach the kid to let go as well, because he wants the kid to learn to let go as much as Maverick, because how else is the kid going to survive? Not to mention his own, or Iceman's wife tells him it hurts to even talk, yet he's willing to get up and talk to Maverick, knowing it's going to do a lot of damage to him.
Yeah.
To give him that message. The Navy needs Maverick. The kid needs Maverick. That's why I fought for you. That's why you're still here.
Yeah. So, and I just, again, when I initially saw the scene in the theaters, I almost cried.
I did.
Right there in the theater.
I did cry.
I don't like crying in the theater. Like maybe a tear came out pretty much, but like this was like so moving. And then like he asks him, like, who's the better pilot? You or me? And like Maverick's like, this is a good moment. Let's not ruin it. And it's like again, from a rivalry grew respect, grew a friendship.
Mm-hmm.
So, and which made it even like sadder because Val Kilmer's character Iceman passes away in this movie,
which is his last tether to the Navy.
Yes, which is Maverick's last tether to the Navy, because basically Cyclone told him, like, it's like, if it weren't for Iceman, you would not be here.
Yep.
And so, like, basically Iceman was essentially in so many ways protecting Maverick, like in a sense, because like once Iceman passes away, it kind of is like the opening that Cyclone needs to alter.
Have Maverick gone.
Yeah, have Maverick
gone.
Ground him. It's like it's like because he says up at one point, "I'm taking over."
Yep. And also, folks, if it wasn't for Ice, Maverick wouldn't have been allowed back in the Navy, because he was discharged, or because he tells him that's why they canned me the first time. Mm-hmm. So essentially, he got canned out of the Navy, but Iceman pulled strings to have him brought back in.
Yeah. So, and I like how there's really there's dialogue in the funeral scene, but most of it is muffled. It's really just the focus of like when Maverick takes the wings and pounds them into the caskets, like per the ceremony. You have the gunshots, the 21 gunshot salutes,
the folded flag,
the bugle, the folded flag, and the flying formation, which I don't know if who knows, but it's called the missing man formation.
Yeah.
So when you see those 4 jets fly over and then one leaves, that's the missing man formation.
Yeah. And believe me, folks, anytime I ever see a folded flag scene, I can't not cry. Mm-hmm. I've been to a military funeral. My grandfather's. He was a World War II vet. And I've seen the emotion of not only the people who are being handed the flag, but the military personnel who are folding that flag and handing it off. Their eyes are not dry either.
Mm-hmm. So what I think they should have done is basically neither here nor there, but I do appreciate that they actually went that route, because again, it plays into the evolution of Maverick's character. And in a way it makes sense, because this is the opening the Cyclone needs to ground Maverick. Cyclone was looking for any reason he could to ground Maverick, but he couldn't because Iceman was still alive.
Iceman was holding his hand.
And so Cyclone has grounded Maverick, and
Penny gives him a talking to.
Is basically accusing him of saying, like, it's like, you were supposed to get them ready for this mission. All you've told them is, like, they're not.
All you've shown them is that it can't be done.
Yeah, it can't be done. To which, again, in Maverick fashion, shows it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Shows it can be done.
Is the best freaking scene in the movie, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them are, like, on the edges of their seats. Folks, I was on the edge of my seat the whole freaking time this movie was playing, but they were literally on the edges of their seats, making sure, or because he sets the time for 2:15, and it's like, that's impossible. A 16th of a second left.
Yeah.
Or a 16th of a second left.
He commandeered an F-18 to do it.
He stole it, yeah.
Yeah. But he did it.
Let's be blunt. He stole it.
and Cyclone is like, do I keep you grounded or do I risk my career?
By making you team leader.
And I love it. Like, Maverick is about to answer, and Warlock says, "I think it's a rhetorical question, Captain."
Yeah, I think the Admiral's asking a rhetorical question. Captain. Because Maverick's shocked to shit about this. It's not that he wanted the mission, but it's like, sir,
Yeah.
I love Warlock. It's the way that he just stops him.
Yeah,
just asking a rhetorical question.
Yes. So I think, like, in a sense, also that Cyclone, also realizing, but begrudgingly, but realizing this mission needs Maverick.
Mm-hmm. Because he tells him, or before we get to the aircraft character, I need to bring this up.
Mm-hmm.
The scene where he talks to Penny and where they're outside is beautifully and well shot, because nothing needs to be said after he tells her, I'm going overseas for this mission.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had just agreed that they're basically now a couple again, where even Amelia told Maverick after he tried sneaking out,
yeah, just
don't break her heart again. That was a great scene. But them watching the waves and her giving him a hug and the way that they lit it from above, you get the sense that Maverick is not going to make it back. This is just so much of a way that it's like, is he going to make it back? So when we get to the carrier and he's saying, talk to me, Goose, and then Warlock tells him, you're where you belong.
Yeah. You're where you are where you belong. So basically, who's essentially selected for the mission? Maverick is team leader, and
Payback and
Fanboy are his wingmen. Rooster is the second one, second Dagger 2. All right, so basically the mission call signs are Dagger 1, Dagger 2, 3, and 4, pretty much.
Yep. Foxtrot teams and wingman.
Yeah, so basically four aircraft, two airplane teams, pretty much. Maverick is Dagger 1, Rooster is Dagger 2, Phoenix and Bob are Dagger 3, and Payback and Fanboy are Dagger 4.
Yep.
So that's the formation they're flying. And see if I can get a shot of.
Yeah.
Because basically we skipped a lot of stuff. I want to get a shot of the aircraft, like the radar. Trail.
Yeah, got to go back a little bit, right about here, and just go forward. Yeah.
So that's all right. So basically, that's an AWAC.
AWAC. Yep.
All right. So that allows them to see them after they've left the carrier. You see their formation right there, the flight group.
There's Tomahawks.
Yeah. So there's the carrier, basically the carriers, Tomahawk missiles, the sights right here. So they're able to track pretty much everything.
Why didn't they also just carry enough Tomahawks to also target the SAM sites? So,
well, it depends on what Tomahawks they used.
Yeah.
Because there are There
These
are
ones-
actually tomahawks without going into stuff that I really cannot reveal, pretty much.
I get it.
There are tomahawks that are like you could actually program waypoints.
Hmm.
Like, they are that smart.
These ones were of the carpet bomb variety.
Yeah, so most likely would not be able to target the SAM sites. You would think that they would do it, but depending on what tomahawks they use, most likely they couldn't.
Yeah.
So the only thing they could use is at least use them against would be the airfield.
Yeah.
And again, what they say is like once we bomb the airfield,
Any planes in the air.
shit's gonna hit the fan. They know that something is going down. Where it's going down, they might not be quite aware, but they know stuff like shit is going down.
Yeah.
So at that point, you have to be prepared to not only fight your way possibly to the target, but definitely fight your way back.
Yep.
Because now you have alerted that airfield will be alerted, so now you'll have aircraft on alert to deal with, along with the SA-3s protecting the trench.
And the sound effects that they have for the 5th gens, the Su-57s, are actual. It's almost drone like sounding.
Mhm.
It's like these things.
Because they're watching their path. And at one
Yeah.
point, Rooster falls back because Rooster starts second guessing himself. He's overly cautious.
Yep. Talk to me, Dad.
And I love that scene because he says, "Talk to me, Dad." And the next voice you hear is Maverick saying, "Don't think, just do." So it's like whether Rooster heard him or not, but like it's just perfectly timed, pretty much. Because at that point, Rooster is like, guns it.
Yep.
Do you
Whoa,
know-
Rooster, not that fast.
No, the Rooster's wingman is like Payback and Fanboy because like
Fanboy's the backseater.
Payback is like, whoa, not that fast.
Yep. Whoa, Rooster, take it easy.
Yeah,
It's like, no, you guys better catch the fuck up. You've disengaged, or according to them.
yeah. So long range, where's the hell they come from? Bulls, basically.
Yeah, because
I
two
love how,
bandits.
again, it plays into the don't think, just do, because Rooster,
There they are.
here's the bandits. Rooster, because Fanboy is the WSO for
Yep.
Payback, so he's the one locking onto the target to help guide the missile.
Mm-hmm.
And the target system is something's up. It's not locking onto the targets. He can't get it. So Rooster pretty much has to deadeye, as he calls it.
Yep.
Deadeye it, and hope his aim is like perfect.
Oh, he definitely used the Force.
Yeah, it pretty much was a
Luke Skywalker moment.
into the shaft moment.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
She said shaft, Winky.
Yes, but but again, it's still plausible because they've been training for this for at least a couple weeks, because we also find out, we didn't cover this, but then their mission moved up because
By 1 week.
they underestimated how close this plant was to being operational.
Yep. And they didn't want the uranium transported in and then bomb it, because then you got a radiation flood.
Yeah. So it's a now or never scenario.
Yep.
A now or never scenario that they're facing. That's just why. And also part of the reason why I would say the Cyclone ultimately gives team leader to Maverick is Maverick is going to make sure or do his best that they all come home.
And that's one of the things he was telling Cyclone. He's like, your job is to teach him to strike the target and whatnot, and to come home.
Yeah.
And to come home, sir. Every mission has its risk. These pilots accept that. I don't.
Yeah. So. And again, it's a dogfight.
Yep.
It becomes a dogfight. So basically, you have again, they're using the correct terminology in this movie, because in the first movie they kept using the term bogey, which is incorrect. But at least they're using the correct terminology in this movie, and that's bandits, pretty much. So they don't go into using the hostile term right? Because typically hostile is now you are allowed to fire upon the enemy. So basically, they bypass that because in the understanding that it's going to be a dogfight, they don't need permission to fire back, essentially.
Yep.
So bandit is the correct term in this case. So, and again, the enemies, I love how the enemy is purposely ambiguous. So we don't know who the enemy is. It could be anyone with, like, because I think like the markings on this craft is Soviet, but it could be anyone with Soviet aircraft in that region.
Red Star basically gives it away.
Yeah, so it kind of gives it away, but at the same time, they don't.
Could be China.
I'm saying like they don't. It could be.
Yeah, they don't specify.
They don't go other way to say like this is the enemy, pretty much. So you could deduce based on the aircraft and who has the aircraft who the enemy could be, but that's kind of like, is it not? We don't know. Like, is it purposely ambiguous? Most likely they would not say it's China, or at least not outright, because the Chi-Coms have like 30% stakeholds in Hollywood, at least.
Yeah.
So most likely, because that's like kind of segue is what pissed me off about the Red Dawn remake. Because initially it was supposed to be China as the enemy that invaded the United States, but because the Chinese threw a piss fit over that, they changed it to the North Koreans. And anyone who knows anything about North Korea, like, you don't need to know anything like secret or anything about their inventory to know that, never mind South Korea, like outside of the peninsula, all right, they couldn't even invade Japan. And we're supposed to believe that they're going to try to invade America.
Yeah.
Like a Western power. Would not happen. Even when they included the Spetsnaz as consultants, essentially, to the North Koreans. So originally that was supposed to be Chinese.
Yeah,
and
and
China on that movie.
Let's face it. Ever since Trump gave North Korea McDonald's, they ain't gonna do shit to us.
No. Yeah.
Sorry, I had to.
Yeah. So
But yeah, they ain't. Yeah.
So, but
we're updating our tech, but right now, the SU-57s do hold a slight advantage even over our F-22s.
Yeah. So we talked about how they've hit the targets. I want to get to the dogfights.
Well, if you want to get to the dogfight between Mav and Rooster, or do you want to get to the SAM or to the SAM?
Initially, the SAMs. I want to show the flares, the countermeasures.
Yeah.
So typically, like, flares and what's also called chaff are countermeasures against certain missiles, particularly heat-seeking missiles or infrared, depending on what you like, what the terminology you want to use. And they use flares in this case. So basically, what happens, for those who do not understand the process of the countermeasures, is the aircraft will release flares, and the missile will hone in on that heat signature.
Yep.
And that's the countermeasures used in this against the missiles. So when they say I'm out of flares, they're basically saying I'm a sitting duck.
Yep.
I'm like literally a sitting duck in the air. So that will release flares. Yeah, so like the missiles that are firing are SAMs.
Yep.
The SA-3s.
And I love the panic in the overlay of all of the pilots talking and whatnot. It really does lend a chaotic sense to it.
Well, yeah, because you're basically like you're hearing their voices, and then you're seeing literally like the chaos is like it's a faraway shot, so you have like them basically both avoiding the SAMs as well as the bandits.
Yeah. Greg's, or when I say that they have a slight advantage, I mean in maneuverability.
Mm-hmm.
The Su-57 is technically more maneuverable than the F-22.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, and that's like, it's pitting them against the FA-18s, pretty much.
Yeah.
Hornets. So you have these two different generational aircraft.
Yeah.
Two, and different capabilities pitted against each other.
Yeah.
And so we'll basically kind of skip ahead just a little bit because there is basically a dogfight ensuing, and there's a missile at one point that locks onto Rooster because he's out of flares.
And so Maverick uses his own
to save Rooster, and when he does that, he puts his own plane into jeopardy. So a missile hits him, and he ends up going down behind enemy lines.
Fun fact about the Russian chopper that is used that in this film, it's a Hind D, which is also used in the video game Metal Gear Solid.
The Maverick is down.
Yep.
And Cyclone, initially, if someone's asking, basically sending search and rescue, and Cyclone's we're not losing anyone else.
And you can even see the pain in Cyclone's face. He has to weigh the options, and he tells them, get them right there. He's weighing the options.
Yeah.
What do we do? Or, right, what do we got to do? And then he says, get them back to the carrier.
We're not losing anyone else. Get them back.
Also, I should say, or I wanted to point this out. When he chose Rooster for his wingman, the look on Hangman's face says it all. And they even make a habit, or they even made a point to show Hangman's multiple times when the mission is being briefed. He is freaking
because we didn't say this, the Hangman is the reserve, pretty much.
Yeah, they put him as spare.
So he's basically on standby the entire time, and he hates that. Because
he's smiling, he knows that Maverick's going to choose him. Rooster. His face just sinks, and then when they're doing the briefing, he's looks and bites his lips just to make sure that he's quiet.
Yeah.
Because this was his chance,
Yeah.
He has the confirmed air-to-air kill.
He thought he had it in the bag, literally.
Yeah.
Because technically, of the two, he is the better pilot. He's arrogant and cocky, but technically of the two, he's a better pilot in the scenario. However, it's because of that arrogance
that he wasn't chosen.
Yes.
And actual Top Guns who watch this movie respond to Rooster's character as saying a pilot should have a healthy amount of ego. However, his amount of ego would not put him in much of any mission.
Yeah. Because
of his ego being that much. They would not have him do any missions. So when they did that, it was a perfect choice because they had him humbled in this moment.
In the case of the first film, Maverick was the backup, but that was because he was still traumatized from losing Goose and blaming himself.
Yep. And the funny thing is, I did make the parallel between Maverick and Hangman.
So in that case, it kind of makes sense for him to be the backup because you still couldn't quite trust him. Yep. And at one point, he does bug out because the emotions flood over him in the first film before he comes back and saves Iceman. But that's a good reason why not to do it, and that's because you couldn't quite trust him to have it together.
In the first one, he bugged out because he went through another jet wash, but was able to recover. But it just brought back everything at that moment.
He was too emotional, and so it makes sense for him to be a spare in that case. But it wasn't really so much for ego reasons, like with Hangman, but it was more like he's a liability.
Yeah,
he's a risk factor. He's a risk factor. But still, again, Hangman is kind of like the Maverick, with a little too much ego in this film.
He's a young Maverick, essentially.
Yeah. So
he's too damn full of it.
He's a spare, and he at one point he asked permission to engage,
permission to launch.
Yeah, launch, because
fly air cover.
Yeah, and negative, and even and again he's you see the look on his face fuck.
God damn it.
Yeah, you can't. He shy of basically cursing at that point. He's damn it.
Yeah, because they were saving the F-bomb for the most brilliant freaking move in this entire movie.
Yeah.
When we all know that Maverick survived, folks, and
Yeah.
Rooster saves his ass, but gets shot down by a Sam.
Yeah. Like, he's telling them to come back, but Rooster, like, this is the Hind. Okay, here's the helicopter.
Yeah.
So he's shooting at Maverick, and literally Maverick is pretty much dead. Like, would be dead at this point because
Dead to rights.
angle.
Yeah.
And you see a missile come out of nowhere.
Now, does this mean that Rooster has a confirmed air-to-air kill, or does it have to be a jet or a fighter jet that would associate?
So I don't know. See, I don't know how it works in the Navy. I would say technically no, because it's not an air-to-air combat. He just basically shot a helo down. So I don't think technically it would count.
All right.
But
that's what
I
I've always
don't
been
know.
wondering.
Yeah, but I think it's like kind of like on a technical basis where technically, yeah, it is air to air, but at the same time, it's not in combat
Because it's unaware of his presence.
It's unaware of his presence, so he catches it unaware and just shoots it down to protect Maverick.
But then again, by that metric, Hangman's kill doesn't count in this one. However, they do say it chalks up as second one.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly how the Navy works, but Pete points out that technically Maverick has Maverick has 5. That makes him an ace.
Yep. But yeah, Gigawatt, you have to be crazy to fly a Hindy in this kind of weather. That's a direct quote from Metal Gear Solid. Because it is also during cold weather in a blizzard. So yeah, that's nice. That's a good. I have to give it.
Again, I don't know. I don't know exactly the ins and outs, so I'm like not entirely sure if it would count. And even then, it's just one.
Theory Dragon, hello.
Hello. So looks like he has him dead to rights. He's about ready to fire.
Oh yeah, you got your turbine spinning, and then it's like, oh shit, I'm dead.
Yeah, because like there's really nowhere at that point for Maverick to go. If he even whatever direction he went,
even if he jumped behind those trees,
yeah, he's a goner.
Those bullets would have ripped right through it.
Yeah,
and then through him.
So
didn't they use a Hind in Rambo 2 and Rambo 3?
This is a case of Rooster disobeying orders. So technically, he could be
reprimanded for this.
Yes,
possibly causing an international incident.
Yes, so he would definitely be reprimanded. I'm not sure anything, but because that's from disobeying orders, essentially.
Yep. He was ordered to return, or to basically RTB, return to base.
And I love, like his Dagger 2 is hit. That's Rooster. That he goes down.
Yep.
I love when. I love like you know, Rooster's like you know, are you okay? Like yeah, and like Maverick just like shoves
him. It's like what the hell?
Yes.
What are you doing here?
Yes.
You think I took that missile so you could be down here with me? You should be on a carrier right now. I saved your life.
It's like, and I love when Maverick goes like, "What were you thinking? You told me not to think." He kind of like throws it back in Maverick's face, and even like Maverick like just like he can't respond to that because
he's like,
how do you argue with that? Like that was what he was telling Rooster the entire time. You told me not to think.
Yeah. They probably had Maverick targeted with infrared sights. Oh, possibly. I have no idea how the Hind works. Yeah. But yeah. So it's good to see you. Good to see you.
It's like just to calm down. It's like, what do we do? They make their way to the airfield. That's basically was bombed
cratered
by the Tomahawks. And I love how lo and behold, what's undamaged. And I love like Rooster in this scene because he's like, Mav. Okay, he just like gets up and follows him, and like they're kind of casually walking to the hangar and like run. Okay, run.
There's people running, Mav. Yep.
Run. Yeah.
More people are running, Mav. Yeah, let's probably run.
And they get to an F-14. I guess like shots, and like Maverick is going over
what to do.
Well, when this reaches 120, like you have to pull all this out. These pins and everything, pretty much.
Yep.
stow the ladder after I get up into the aircraft. And
They actually gave Tom Cruise props. Real Top Guns did, who actually flew F-14s. They're like, this is all accurate.
yeah. And yeah, like pretty much he like was Goose in the situation.
Yep.
Like Rooster was pretty much like Goose. But I like it's like I love when he gets in the back seat and he's like, God, this is
so old.
It's like looking at all these buttons.
Shut up, man. We already know we're in a boomer vehicle.
Yeah, but I love like when Maverick's like, it's like telling him to bring up the radio, press like UHF 2, and he's like, there's so many buttons back here. Which one do I press?
Like 300 frickin' circuit breakers, man.
Like that was your dad's area.
That was your dad's department. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Immediately after he says that was your dad's department. I'll figure it out.
All right, so yeah, basically, so they're taxiing out, and they have to literally take off on a taxi because there's no way for them to get to the runway.
Yeah.
So this is again because like Rooster points out, this is a taxiway, not a runway.
This is a very short taxiway. By the way, folks, a former Top Gun who flew F-14s proved that this takeoff was absolutely impossible.
Well, I mean, he does lose a wheel.
Yes, but even so, he would have needed an extra 1,600 yards to actually taxi off.
So I'm trying to get shot because these bandits find them. And they're like, what do we do? Like, well, put your mask on. And they try to pretend like they don't have any radio communication. Like,
so they give them hand signals.
Like,
and it's
like, he does this. They can't hear
on
its own. Like, I don't know what that means. Pretty much. And they kind of alerts the bandits like, these aren't our guys.
Yeah, and they're like, okay, we're pulling away. We're now going to treat you as a hostile. You're not responding to any of our hand signals. And they say his wingman's moving into weapons envelope.
Yes.
Which is another technical term.
So, and it's like, well, like Maverick just all right. Basically, like when that happens, Maverick realizes it's on, and he has to quickly maneuver behind the one aircraft and take it out with the guns, or at least damage it with the guns.
Strafe.
Yeah. He's like he has to take that out right away, otherwise it's 2-on-1. And I love how like the plane that actually takes out the aircraft is the missile from the enemy aircraft.
Yep, and
Maverick uses it as like a barrier essentially for the missile to lock on instead of his aircraft.
And also, if you pay close attention, the one that is getting shot down, that the missile hits, the pilot punches out just as the missile starts, or just as they cut to that. Mm-hmm. So no pilots were harmed.
Yeah. So, and he takes out both these aircraft, and ultimately has to resort to his guns because the F-14 only has so many missiles attached to it. Still has flares, countermeasures, but only has like so many missiles. So, and he uses up all of them. And I might get to the point where it's because we said like at one point when they take off, we didn't touch on. Rooster engages his SAT.
Yep.
So basically, they're able to track Rooster. As a result, he turns it on, and they're like, "But something's off."
He's
what?
Supersonic.
He's supersonic.
He's airborne. And what? Overwatch reports an F-14 Tomcat heading towards our. It can't be. It can't be.
And it's like it's Maverick. Like I love how he says it. It's like it's Maverick.
Ding, Maverick. Because you also hear the bell toll.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh shit, yeah, man.
Yeah, and we're just like, until you grab this,
Yeah.
So it's engaged. And this is where also Rooster says the same thing, but in this case, it's to basically motivate Maverick. Because Maverick, he's not second guessing himself, but he's acting more reserved because he's not alone. He has Rooster with him. So he's like he doesn't want to engage the enemy as he normally would because he's putting not only himself at risk, he's putting Rooster at risk.
And he even tells him that. He's like, you'd go after him if I wasn't here. But
Yeah.
you are here. Come on, Mav. Don't think. Just do.
Just do. Yeah.
And that's when Maverick just do.
Yeah.
It's like, I just love how it, and you see it. Rooster, he's like, just reacts, and it's like, oh, shit.
Just do. He says, just do. I'm going to play. I mean, I don't know if I'll trigger anything, but. And he has a look on his face. I'm like, all right. Okay. Boom. Oh, shit.
I just love that. It's like, well, fuck.
So he did.
Yep.
Took out, well, he's damaged the one aircraft, used it as a barrier. So, like, that aircraft would be taken out by the missile of the other bandit, engages the second bandit.
Yep.
All right. So basically, he's taking out 2. All right.
He hits the brakes and flies right by.
Yeah.
I've turned, or when the shot, the 1.5 second shot of the F-14 going through the smoke, firing away, I turned that into a GIF, folks, because it's like, and I will maintain what I said, best 1.5 seconds of cinema ever this decade.
Yeah. So basically, Rooster's calling out, like, splash one, meaning that 1 is down.
Yep.
So now, So, one bandit down. Let's see if I can get to the shot where they come through with smoke, because he has to use the guns. Yeah, come on, man, do some of that pilot shit.
Which is a line that his father used as well.
Yeah, switching the guns.
Missile, switching the guns. Yep, this is it.
Yeah.
Or
you see the rounds there? Boom.
Boom. There you go.
Yeah. I love that shot.
I mean, it's like the return of the F-14, man.
Yeah. Like, just because it's old
does not mean
it's a relic. Does not mean it's
old, not obsolete.
Obsolete, yeah. So one of the perfect shots. So, and like these 2 aircraft make Maverick an ace, as Phoenix points out. Like, he has 5, that makes him an ace.
And he did it all in an F-14.
Yes. And this is like, I want to get to a scenario where you think they're going to die because they're like, I totally thought they were dead. They're like, something is, it's like, like, where is he? Hold on.
Yeah, back a little bit, or you're going to have to go back at least 20 seconds.
So, like, because basically,
that shot there, man.
Yeah, it's like right at us. Boom.
Yeah.
Because and
where that thing just
Maverick
goes.
is able to maneuver, right? And like, because he's pretty much he's out of missiles, and he's
out of
no
guns.
more ammunition.
Yep, out of missiles, out of rounds, out of flares. Well, no, at that point he still has flares, but he uses up the last flares for that missile.
Like, you think, like, pretty much they are goners because they have no way other than to outmaneuver this 5th generation aircraft that, like, there's any way that they could survive.
Yeah.
And now we don't see this happen, so we have no idea if Hangman was given the orders or not to leave.
Yeah.
To engage. So we don't really know if he exactly broke orders or not. We got to eject, but the eject doesn't work because he's like, he's telling him to pull.
Yep.
On this, and he's like, it's not working. It's not working.
And he even says, "I'm sorry, Goose. I'm sorry."
Eject. Says, "I'm sorry, Goose. I'm sorry." Because I'm sorry, Goose. Like, these captions must have been AI because, like, Goose is
they would have capitalized it.
So missile lock. You hear the beeps, and boom.
It's like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yes.
Who fired the shot? Perfect timing of a shot too, man. I mean, seriously, because the missile just flew.
Yes. Like, it was like just disengaged, and it was basically at that point, once it's disengaged, was going to be on that trajectory towards the F-4.
Excuse me.
But when the aircraft was destroyed, so it was a missile because it was caught in the blast.
Yep.
And I love This is your savior speaking.
Yeah.
And who is it? It's Hangman.
Yeah. It's like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
But in a good way.
I always like how his helmet is the Hangman game.
Yeah. Missing letters.
Yeah. So he still has that arrogance, but at the same time, it's like you can ignore it because he just saved your life. Like he literally just saved both their lives.
Basically, like, okay, we'll give you that one.
Yeah, I'll see you back on deck, and they need to use the net.
Foul deck, meaning get that damn deck cleared.
Yeah, because he has no wheel,
No front
and he has
landing gear and no
tail
tail hook.
Yeah, so they need to use the nets to stop the plane.
And I love the shot of
I mean, they lose an engine on approach. It's like, don't tell me we lost an engine. Okay, I won't.
and then you just see freaking Rooster just clench up. Okay. And it's like, dude, did you just seriously clench?
I mean, technically I would too, because you're landing on a wing and a prayer, literally onto the deck at that point. So technically I would clench too, like, it's till we land.
I mean, I would have been pretty sure I would be.
Yeah.
That shot where it slides up, it's like, okay, buddy, you can rest now.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, earned arrogance here because he saved both their lives.
Yeah.
Then you have the celebration. And I like how also that, you see, like, again, kind of like with Maverick and Iceman in the first movie, you have that kind of growing respect for each other in this regard. But the picture that we see in the hangar when we see where Maverick ended up back at the hangar where he started, it's a picture of him and Rooster.
Yep.
Not Rooster and Hangman, Maverick and Rooster. I appreciate that because it makes more sense.
Yeah.
So,
well, it is Maverick's hangar.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like I don't think he would have cared if it had been Rooster and Hangman, as long as like what he cared about, like Rooster was in the picture, because kind of goes into the pictures he had initially with Rooster, like paying attention to Rooster's life, Goose, Rooster's mother, things like that. So basically, memorabilia, memories throughout Maverick's life. So, and I like that that makes two, but Maverick has five.
Makes him an ace.
And even Phoenix hugs, hugs Hangman because.
Well, it's all celebrations, man.
Yeah. So, and I love how they just hug. Like, they don't really say anything; they just hug.
Well, the first time, and then he tells him, "Thank you for saving my life." It's what my dad would have done.
It's what my dad would have done, and I love that.
Yep. And then he goes to the hard deck. Penny's not there.
Yeah, and another Rooster's there with them.
Yep, helping him with the P-50.
Yeah. So, and that's when we see through kind of like a space, Amelia.
Yeah, she comes in right there.
And I love how they start with her first, and then it's if she's here, Penny's here as well.
Yeah. And what is it with the women in Top Gun and fancy freaking cars?
I mean, know.
Kelly McGillis had a pretty good car back in the 80s. And she has a freaking, what is that? A Porsche Spider or whatever the fuck they call them.
It's really nice. That's all I care about.
Yeah, I mean, that car is like a couple $100,000.
Yeah. So it's a rental.
Definitely. It's like you scratch this car, you're fucked.
Yes. So, and then basically this is where the movie ends. Yeah. So I like it's fitting that he takes her up in his plane.
Mm-hmm.
Again, kind of calls back to where he got in trouble taking her up in an F-14 and an F-18, but he takes her up in his own plane.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's a shot. So Rooster looks at the pictures. So So I have like basically Maverick and Goose on the left, and right next to that picture is Maverick and Rooster.
Yep. And Miles Teller was asked to bring younger photos of himself for these, or for this montage, as you can see in the right hand corner.
Yeah.
When he was in baseball.
Yeah. So there's Maverick and Goose, another picture, and pictures of Maverick's father.
Yep.
So you see, like, there's basically like
Yep.
Maverick's life right here in this little montage of pictures. And that's basically how the movie ends. And I think it's like a fitting ending. I don't really want any continuation because it's Maverick's story is over.
Yeah.
And
Now,
I don't see how you can do Top Gun without Maverick.
one of the things I do like about the credits for this one is they do the same formula.
Mhm.
It's or a character who passed is the first one on or in the credits shown. Because when Goose passed, Goose was the first one in the credits.
Yeah.
Val Kilmer is the first one in the credits here.
Yeah.
As he or his character passes. And also Maverick is the last in each credit as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which is so freaking great because this is the minute details that they followed.
Yeah. So, and like I said, like I have nothing against the new characters. Like with Cobra Kai, they've shown how you can still honor the past but introduce new characters.
Yeah.
So I have nothing against the new characters. I just don't see how they could do Top Gun without Maverick because basically Maverick is Top Gun.
I do see how they can do a third with Maverick, because we have a story arc in here that doesn't go beyond the first act, which is the drones.
Possibly.
Let's say that Kane gets his drones and whatnot. Maverick is basically brings in to show that the drones are not perfect.
Or possibly, but like I
Or
said,
something
I'm
along those
afraid
lines.
it really doesn't need to be a trilogy.
It really doesn't. You're right.
Like this is to me a fitting ending to Maverick's
perfect
story.
duology.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, it's perfect as a duology. It does not really need to progress, at least with Maverick's character. They could conceivably do another movie with the new pilots.
Yeah, Top Gun Rooster.
Yeah. So, but we'll see. We'll see.
Because technically, now Maverick would be discharged after that mission.
Yeah, so I'm saying like they would have to, like there's like really no one around that would I think be able to pull the strings like Iceman was able to. So
unless Cyclone decides to begrudgingly do it, because he did also give Maverick an acknowledgement on the carrier.
Maybe, but even then, it's like I think it's pretty much fitting.
Yeah,
that this is like
fitting that
he's finally out of the Navy. Like that was his last post.
Yep.
And like now he's. I wouldn't say free as if like it was a bad thing that he was in the Navy, but he's pretty much free to be himself.
Yep. And also, folks, if you watch the special features of this movie, they are basically telling you there isn't going to be another movie like this again, but they're also basically telling you there isn't going to be another Top Gun movie.
So
they should end it here, and I do believe they want to end it here.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that is Top Gun Maverick, and we did not go into everything because there was a scenario where Phoenix and Bob nearly lost their lives.
Yep.
There was a point where Coyote nearly lost his life because he blacked out.
Yep.
Gravity
induced loss of consciousness.
Because Maverick is kind of having the same conversation with Rooster that Maverick had. With the Viper gave him it's like
you'll lose wingmen.
Yeah. So,
and that's when Rooster confronted him. It's like, why'd you pull my papers? And he told him you weren't ready.
Yeah, which is true, but not completely true. Essentially, because like there was another reason that again, Maverick did not want to tell him because again, like he said, he already resents me. I'm not going to have him resent his deceased mom.
Yep.
So
scoring.
I say, for me, I actually prefer the sequel to this one. So I'd say I put Top Gun at like an 8 out of 10. and I would put this one at the very least a 9 out of 10. At the very least, 9 out of 10. I might be rated a 9.5, but definitely like a 9.
Me, as a from an objective standpoint, without all the technical nitpicks that the military has, as a person who's not in the military, this film objectively is a 9 to a 9.5 because a lot of it is done to the point where it is done and done well. Because even the digital effects look as real as possible. Subjectively, it's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And moviegoer, it's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. And movies nowadays rarely get anything like that high.
Yeah.
At least in my case, because
where Princess Bride is a 9.6, Top Gun Maverick is a 9.5.
I think there was only one movie that came out. One other movie that came out last year that I would give around a 9. Around a 9, maybe a little bit lower, but like not quite as high as Top Gun Maverick, and that is Bullet Train. Because I very much enjoyed Bullet Train.
I have that movie. I have yet to watch it through its entirety.
Have you seen the movie Snatch?
No.
Okay, well, I'm not giving anything away when I say this, but basically the storytelling in Snatch is non-linear. so
it's a non-linear movie.
You kind of have to pay attention because it'll be like present day, then kind of like jump back to like something that happened in the past and jump back to present, sort of to kind of.
I saw a little bit of it, I do know. I know about that.
So it's not like A to B to C. It's like A to B,
Well, one of my favorite actors is in it.
A to E jumps back to B sort of situation, but it's still like you're still able to follow it. You just have to pay attention a little bit.
Yeah. Hiroyuki Sanada's in it, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be a good movie.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. You've seen Tarantino movies, aren't you? Yes, I have. I've seen a few of them.
Yeah, so it's similar storytelling.
Yeah, it's similar storytelling, most likely.
But that means it stopped showing the screen. But that chat is Top Gun Maverick. Almost had Top Gun Maverick.
Yep.
Had a hiccup there a little bit. So
extremely rewatchable, fun and enjoyable.
Yeah.
So
like I said, objectively, like that's just my personal preference, and again, subjective, and that is I prefer actually the sequel to the first one. Nothing against the first one, but to me, rewatchability plays a factor, and the sequel is more rewatchable than the first one. And when you have my mom even enjoying the sequel, and she's not big on like military films, you did a good job.
Yep.
If my mom enjoys it and she's like she doesn't gravitate to military films, it's a good movie, pretty much. Like she is kind of like the benchmark. Like they succeeded.
My mom also loved this movie too.
Yeah. My mom enjoyed it. Like she watched it on TV after it was in theaters because she didn't see it in theaters. It was on not too long ago actually because they were like running both Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick.
Yep. Funny thing is,
my dad had Top Gun on, so it basically progressed to Maverick. And I'm like, and my mom was like initially ribbing me because I was like, I kept it on. It's like, what is this? She's rolling her eyes like, oh, yeah, I gotta watch these movies. Yeah. But she was engrossed in Maverick.
Like, this movie released a year ago today.
Yeah.
By the way, folks. So it's like a 1 year later.
So. But there it is. So thank you, Chad, for hanging out with us. The next ones and twos will be the Bill and Ted films. So the first one will be Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, followed by Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. I know there's a third one that came out recently, but we are going to cover the first two, hence the ones and twos, pretty much. So
because the third one is a total retcon.
Essentially.
I watched it recently because I got all three of them recently on sale.
So, and I'll talk about this when we talk about the first one at least, but when you watch it as a kid and the whole 69 dude scene, you're like,
you don't get it.
That's an oddly specific number. And why are they grinning when they say it? And then you watch it as an adult going, oh,
got it.
Yes. Oh, okay. That's why. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but there it is. So yeah, next ones and twos will be Bill, Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey, and that will be the second and third Wednesday of June, and so that would be 14th and 21st. And also people in the chat and Orange Chat, if you remember this, the next top 10, is that just top 10 TV show openings, or is it specific to animated? Because I cannot remember.
I think it was TV show openings.
Just TV show openings.
You didn't want to just make it animes because you wanted to have a little bit more outspread.
Okay, because it's been so hectic, and Steve was asking me, and I'm like, I can't remember. Honestly, can't remember.
It's just
okay. Things in general. Okay, we'll say it's in general TV show openings. Okay, so the top 10 for June will be TV show openings, intros, basically.
Yeah.
And Cringe Factory, obviously, the first Wednesday, which is the 7th. So plenty of cringe we'll be talking about, and that is the Wednesday schedule for this coming June. All right. Yeah, I already spoiled your number one. I know you, Trey. But Orange Chat, again, let everybody know where they can find you and all that fun stuff.
You can find me here for her ones and twos. You can find me on my own channel, Orange Chat Reviews, where I do mystery reviews. The first hints for the mystery review of June is Embellished History and Main Characters Die. There are several movies that fit that description, folks, so do not think it's obvious. Also, swords play a role, and still, multiple movies fit the thing. Okay. I also do MCU Sundays, where I discuss movies every week with the Hat Crew. We're doing Thor Dark World. I do entertainment news. You can find me on Twitter at VolanOHR. And I also revamped my other Twitter to Orange Hat Patriot because I got out of Star Wars. So, yeah. I finally hit that.
Just to clarify on this, Stieg has not watched enough cartoons to get even 6, he said. Yeah. And he has a disdain for anime.
Oh.
So I mean, he doesn't like the animation style for anime essentially. So he would not even have any tops in the anime section. So it's basically TV in general. So it could be live action or it could be animated, whether it's cartoons or anime. So,
well, I already know my number one for that one.
So there's Orange Hat's YouTube and his Twitter. Thank you so much. And yes, obviously you can find me here. This is my main YouTube channel. I am still taking a break next Wednesday, even though I haven't really released any videos this week because it's just been crazy. Leading up to the renovations that my parents are doing on their kitchen. So pretty much I have to be essentially on deck, available in case I need any help for any reason. So I'm pretty much not able to have any free time. So that's why I'm going to try to put a video out tomorrow. We'll see. I'm anticipating not being able to stream at all in the afternoon on Friday because I'm not sure how much time it's going to take helping my parents out with stuff that's getting done Friday, pre the work starting on maybe Monday, but early next week, essentially. Yeah, so, and then Talk Nerdy to Us will be on Steph's channel. I'm going to talk to her because I think the new Spider-Verse movie comes out this weekend. I'm going to ask her if she wants to talk about it, and if she does, I'm going to ask her maybe about doing Talk Nerdy on Sunday afternoon to give me time to see the new Spider-Verse movie. Yeah. So it might not be Saturday, it might be Sunday afternoon. And since we're not doing D&D, I'll be able to actually take part in like the Talk Nerdy, so we could do it for the entire time and not have to start it as early. So I'm going to talk to Steph about that, see what she wants to do. But because it's going to be on her channel. It's going to be on her channel this week, so see what she wants to do. So thank you all again for hanging out with us. So next week will be Cringe Factory, then Bill and Ted movies, and then top 10 TV show intros. So
Alrighty.
Take care, everyone. Yeah, I know, but it's a nerdy topic, so we might likely talk about it. So
yeah.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, have a good rest of your day or evening. Depending on favorite lines. I'm good, Rooster. I'm very good. Yeah, that's Hangman's line. I like it's not the plane, it's the pilot. Don't think, just do. Yeah. Not today. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like there's basically a good number of lines in this.
It's extremely gifable and memeable.
Yeah. So no questions this time because it's going on. It's after 10:30, so I'm gonna kind of wrap it up here.
Yeah.
Might have some questions for you for the Bill and Ted movies because
Definitely.
there's gonna be some things to talk about.
Excellent.
Yeah. So take care, everyone. Have a good rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are in the world, and we will see you all next time. So I'm gonna play the 2 Top Gun, Archer clip I have with Danger Zone, the clip from the first Top Gun, and then my regular outro. So take care, everyone. Stay safe, and peace.
Lana. 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 Lana!
What? Danger zone.
I feel the need for speed. You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.